that mounts there. I don't know how it connects there.
No. It's one like this and it's like, what the heck?
Check support.
Put it on and it just kind of sinks down.
All right, it's now 6 p.m. Monday, February the 23rd. I'd like to call to order our city council work session. And just to let everybody know that February the 23rd, yesterday was my dear wife and I's 53rd first date anniversary. So I know you guys would always want to know that. A big day in our life. That's right. She actually had a date with somebody else, but I convinced her to break it, so it all worked out. I'd like to call to order. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Kathy, could you please call the roll?
Councilmember Frank Bankert.
Present.
Councilmember Kimberly Shaw Elliott. Here. Councilmember Todd Harper.
Present.
Councilmember Jody Shirley. Here. Councilmember Anders Wellings.
Here.
Vice Mayor Lloyd Roberts.
Here.
Mayor Dave Gaddis. City Manager Kyle Riegler.
Here.
City Attorney Tom Trask.
Here. All right, thank you, everybody, for being here. First item on the agenda is the discussion of the lien reduction at 1903 Bayshore Drive. I know we previously discussed this a little bit, but I'm gonna ask Tom. I know Tom and Kyle spent some time working on this, so whoever would like to take the lead and bring us up to date.
Okay, so I essentially providing more information on kind of the timeline of what occurred and how the address got mistaked. And we didn't send to that address when we knew of it and we could have noticed the address. And when looking over everything and taking into account what Magistrate Moore put in the order, I would recommend that in this case, we should refund the total amount remaining 25%, because the fine should have never been incurred in the first place.
Okay,
I'm sorry, what was 25%?
So the way this went is we had a code violation. We went to a hearing. And it was a judge found it in violation. An order was given to start fines after a certain date. That date was reached. We sent an affidavit of non-compliance to the person believing that it was getting to the address. It never was. Those fines started incurring as soon as the owner was made aware that the fines were underway. Then they immediately corrected the situation. It was discovered after they realized that the fines were occurring, that the address and the mailing address on the tax appraiser website was incorrect and it was going to nobody in the family anymore. We were confused by that because we were also posting the notice on the door, and a previous tenant was relaying that information to the owner, but we did not know that was how it was, she was getting the information. So now, after realizing that she never got that order, and it wasn't noticed to her correctly, we see it as she was not aware, and the fine should have never incurred and went to a lien, so that we had to get to the point of a lien reduction. And then our current lien reduction code maximum amount of reduction is 75%. So that's why we're left with the remaining 25%.
And what is the amount that was remaining?
8,000.
8,000, yes, sorry, yeah.
8,600.
So while I agree, there was some confusion on posting notices and the lien information. This property remained unkept for a very, very long time. And there was no attempt on the property owner to clean it up. So my concern is that we are allowing that to continue throughout the city. And when you own a property, you have a responsibility to take care of it, especially for those surrounding neighbors.
I think there's culpability here. I went through all of your notices and it wasn't that the owner wasn't aware of the issues. I mean, the timeline starts October of 24 and goes forward. So she didn't know about the fines accruing in July of 25, but there's still a long period of time there where the hurricane damage was relieved. And there was a period of time there was a large camping trailer in that driveway. So the assumption I made was that when the storm hit and we put trailers in the driveway so owners could replenish or recoup or refurbish their houses while they were under construction, that trailer just one day disappeared, but nothing else happened on the property. But it wasn't like the owner did not know. If the owner had a renter and the renter was conveying, or yeah, I agree, some technical issues happened on the paperwork aspect of it, but it wasn't that the owner did not know there was a problem, and it wasn't that the owner did not work to correct the problem. It only happened after suddenly there was this large fine in place. So I disagree with you, Kyle, and that is I think there's some level of culpability on the owner's part as far as rectifying the property, especially for the period of time that this problem took place.
Any other thoughts?
Yeah.
Look,
I'm so sorry, if I may. I'm her attorney, so I just wanted to be here to answer any questions that anybody may have. I know there's a lot of commenting going on right now, so I just wanted to politely insert myself.
and your name is?
Sophia Bond.
Okay. Okay, so you spoke our last meeting via Zoom?
Yes.
Okay.
She wasn't properly served is what it comes down to, correct?
That's correct. She wasn't properly served. If she was properly served, we may not even have been here. Under the law, if she's not properly served, then she hasn't received due process. If she hasn't received due process, she's not obligated to respond. So the special magistrate made a specific finding in her order that the property owner did not receive the proper notice. It's clear on page 17 of your packet, paragraph number 2, it's highlighted.
Right.
That she did not receive proper notice. Therefore, it's not appropriate to charge the fine. It's my recommendation that you refund the amount of money that's been paid to avoid any further attorney's fees and costs and any type of appeal that moves forward on this or separate lawsuit filed against the city.
Thank you.
I was just gonna say, yeah, I mean, I support where we landed so far, at least from what Kyle's pointed, and I agree with you, but I'm just trying to understand, like, I read this judgment by the magistrate, and I'm reading the exact statement you said. So it says, by reason of the foregoing facts. Okay, so just help me find what the foregoing facts are. Can you help me understand that? When I look at the requirements for notification, it rattles off a couple of things: delivery by certified mail, return requested. Help me find in the words here where we messed up.
I was not present at the hearing, so I don't really,
I mean, what did we do wrong?
She wasn't properly served. Did we get?
I know, but like, we nailed it to the addresses that were on record.
But did they come back signed? Received?
But okay, all right, but I mean, I guess what I'm worried about, that can people always say the records are wrong, I didn't receive it, and just always play dumb.
So there's
ignorance on it.
there's a difference in this case. So the law requires when the code enforcement action is brought, notice is provided to the property owner by way of the address listed at the property appraiser's website
Right,
or the tax collector's website.
right,
And in addition thereto, we need to send it to any other address that we're aware of that what we know for a fact would get to the particular property owner. In this particular case, based upon the facts that have been moved forward, the sheriff's office notified the city, and the sheriff's office knew of a different address and notified the city. And then the property owner was not provided with the benefit of that, and the notice was not provided to her that.
right. So I guess I'm looking at under item 1, under C bullet, it says, like you say, and any other address provided to the city. So that's your point that
Correct.
the records were wrong in the Pinellas County tax record. And it's, if we were provided another address, and so then there needs to be evidence of another address provided. And you're saying that from what I can look like, it's in the code enforcement, I guess, records? Let me start,
In the I work where Deputy Trump enters.
like, yeah, where is the correct address being recorded and communicated back to the city?
Typically, because Deputy Trump enters 3 different systems, so 2 on his own and then the cities.
But is that the record we're claiming that the evidence was presented that the
Yeah.
correct address was provided to us?
I have it on the database with a timestamp and all
I
that.
saw that in the
Yeah.
provided info. So that's the record that we're relying on. Is that our procedure to always go look at all the records to find where an address might have been put?
No, our procedure has been to mail to the property appraiser website, but there was a case where if you do have another alternate address that it was found that you're supposed to use that address if you know of another address.
Okay.
This is the first time where I had an incorrect address under the tax appraiser website. What added to the confusion as we posted it and the information was getting relayed, we didn't know how.
Right.
We assumed it was the address.
Yeah, and I've never heard about the renter, but yet I'm hearing that the owner didn't condone that renter being there, if I'm right? I think that's.
That's after the renter. There was a renter and then there was another, there was an author.
Someone else that was related to
Which is
this.
exactly why we're here, right? Is
Right.
because they weren't managing the property as
Right.
though they owned it. And that's the whole problem here.
Right.
And we wouldn't have this problem at all if the owner took some responsibility.
So we don't hold any accountability to the fact that the information was being relayed from the tenant to the owner and we were doing certified and doing property appraiser. But I understand what the court's saying, and that is she didn't get all the information at every possible address and every possible combination. But my point is more of, this wasn't a 1 week or 2 week or 3 week occurrence. This was a 14-month occurrence. So this was going on for a very long period of
But
time.
before we even started,
Right.
this was going on way before we started looking at it from a code enforcement
So if
standpoint.
it was 14 months, why didn't we do a proper service then?
If the property tax record was incorrect for the 14 months, then how would we know that it was improper
Because we
service?
didn't get anything back that's saying, she received it. I mean, this is, like I said at the last meeting, and I think we should take the attorney's advice. Give her the money back and plead for mercy. I mean, this is, I think we're setting ourselves up here.
But I guess I'm thinking more of like, how do we do this, fix it going forward? Because this seems like this mistake could happen many times.
It doesn't happen very often. I handle.
But that's just by luck.
Hundreds of cases a month. It does not happen very often. This was obviously a mistake. It happened and so we need to correct it. But I don't necessarily think that the address that the property appraiser had was wrong. I don't think the address the tax collector had was wrong. It just was not corrected by the property owner. That doesn't make it wrong. It was.
Okay, but that still makes if it's our responsibility,
It's on us.
like, how are we responsible to find these people?
So we don't have any responsibility to search them out.
Okay,
This is the exception because we had the address.
in a record, not in a, I know, I get it. It's in this other record. So to me,
It's in the code enforcement file. It
right.
doesn't get any better than that.
No, that's not a good way. That's not a good way. It's just an ancillary record. If it wasn't on the computer. Yeah, I mean, anyway, my point is that's not a good way for us to have to search for latest addresses. So I just think, either we have to put it in our procedures to always look in those records. That's my point.
what I'm gonna.
We got ourselves in trouble with, there's a record and we have the correct address, and we didn't make everybody in the city, you know, leadership in the team there on your team aware of this address correction, because not everybody's looking in that database, right? And then I don't know where else you put that corrected address afterwards.
So if the address was incorrect, then how was the property tax current? How were they paying the property tax bill if they weren't?
They were still getting the information, right?
Right.
The property.
How they were doing
delinquent.
How were they paying their taxes if they weren't getting the tax records? From the, because
They
there's,
were getting what was the address that it was being mailed to, their tax bill.
If I'm being honest, I only know things in the purview of this, the lien reduction, but we
Okay.
did, I mean, was paying her taxes.
right, so maybe she proactively went and looked for them because she knew she had to pay taxes every year.
Then she would see the wrong address.
Yeah, she would see the wrong address, right, but okay.
The address, I think that her mindset was that because she gave it to the city, she thought that that was the correct way to update her address, so.
Yeah, I understand that, and I do, and I don't know how it was portrayed, it was verbally given to Mr. Trump, and then he put it in the database.
Yes.
Nothing in writing from them, but that's fine.
She did provide.
She put it in writing to Dr. Trump, okay, very good.
For the record, what was the fine per day?
There was 3 fines. I have that, but it was like, the pool, the yard. And then the dock, and there was only 100 and 250s. Can't remember.
$50 a day?
Yeah, and they subsequently fell off as they were corrected.
Right, but what I'm saying is 7 days a week, $250 a day. I think we need to do our due diligence. Make sure it's served properly. We want to collect $250 a
I'm
day.
not suggesting that we collect 250, but I'm also saying
Okay.
the property owner needs to
Well, the property owner.
responsible and
if you
take care of their property. If it was next to your house, you wouldn't have been happy.
I would have been happy, but I would have gone through the process like I've done with people that didn't live there. And I have a record, and Kyle can sustain it probably with, or Trump, I can bring Trump in it. We've gone through and made sure that person was contacted and it was corrected without a fine or anything like that. But I stay on it. All right, but somebody didn't stay on this, is what I'm saying. The lady, I think, was caring for her ill husband, wasn't she? Yeah, I mean, I know there's no parts. I think you might have one.
No, that's not fair, that's not fair to say that, that's not.
Let somebody's talking here.
No.
The magistrate says, attorney says. Job. And instead of just putting it to discuss on how we're getting screwed out of $8,000 tonight. Somebody has
About the money.
It's about
It is not. It's about accountability.
property owner's accountability.
Mayor, got his hands up.
Frank, I already said that.
Is the man on here?
Okay.
Yes, he's got his hand raised.
Am I up?
Yes, sir.
All right. Kyle, what was your recommendation?
My recommendation is based on what's in the order and the fact that we did receive the address. We just didn't communicate it correctly internally to be mailing her at that address as well. If I would have known, I would have definitely mailed it. So my recommendation is that we refund the full amount.
The full amount and
That was
forego
also
the
supported by
administrative
legal
fees?
counsel.
Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I'm good with that.
Yeah, I'm, like I said at the beginning, of the way I introduced my comment was that I'm okay with giving them the money back. So that's not representing me properly, Frank.
This last month when he said that, okay, and we wanted to drag it through the mud for another 18 minutes tonight.
But I'm in favor of giving the money back, but what I'm really suggesting is that to prevent the issue in the future is that we adjust our process. That's what I was trying to get to what was the underlying issue?
Sure.
Like, why would we not, how would we not make this mistake again?
We have to address in another session, not tonight. Tonight.
Let's wrap it up. So I think we have discussed it fully. Everybody's had a chance to give their opinion. Is there anybody else that would like to speak that hasn't?
One last thing, Vice Mayor, I believe that the city manager has a plan in place to prevent this from happening in the future. Apparently there's going to be an extra field added to the form, and if another address shows up, then it will be sent to both locations. Is that right, Kyle?
Yes, that's correct. So when we are notified of an alternate address, then he's gonna, hit a toggle in the iWork database, and then there's a check down that just gives you the basic address fields, and then it'll be entered in. And when we send code violation notices and hearing orders, it's either myself or the executive assistant, so we'll be reviewing that.
Perfect, thanks.
And I think we've had recommendation by our city council, and far be it from me to think that I would know more than him, plus what the magistrate reported. So my feeling is this will be in our next city council meeting as an agenda item to vote. And everybody has their own opportunity to vote how you feel you'd like to vote. Yep. All
Can
right.
I just to make a suggestion in that I think they should at minimum be charged administrative fees. There've been a lot of fees for us to babysit their property that they have not maintained. And at minimum, they need to reimburse some of the deputy's time and energy that was spent.
I made a motion for $1,000 last month. Would that be acceptable?
We're not gonna vote
Wait, that's.
on that tonight anyway.
But I'm asking the attorney.
Okay.
I made a motion at a meeting last month to put this to bed for $1,000. Is that agreeable? Well, what she said for fees and everything like that,
I said that would be fine. However, with that being said, since we're all here discussing it, I would love to see the breakdown.
well, I think it's.
So I think we just let our city manager and the city council put the wording together for our agenda, how you guys think is best. And then we'll vote on it the way it's worded.
All right.
Okay.
That's good. Thank you.
All right.
As my last, parting statement, my client did, she had been trying to clean up the property from the beginning. By the time she learned about the fees, there wasn't enough time to get it resolved. She got it resolved right after she learned about the fees, but that's only because she had been working towards cleaning up the property the entire time. She lives in Connecticut, and things were hard to get going, so it's not like she learned about the fees and then panicked because of the money. She was always trying to clean up this property. It was kind of a hard thing to manage with all the hurricanes and then, not being there, her job and her life, that kind of thing. So she really was trying to clean up the property the entire time. And she does appreciate you all, continuing to hear this for her. So.
Okay. Well, thank you for being here tonight. I think it was a one-off, and I think our legal counsel said that in so many words, that he's done many of these and very few of these get to this point. It just happened. So I think we're moving in the right direction to try to figure out an improved methodology so we can minimize the opportunity in the future, and we go from there. So
Yeah,
thank you for being
comfortable
here
with the
tonight.
process that Kyle's proposing as a true remedy. So thank you.
All right. Second item on the agenda is the discussion of the strategic plan. So typically we have kind of bring that up to date and we can review it with regards to any amendments, upgrades that we've had so far, and any future ways we would like to edit or change the current plan.
It's both. Thank you. I think it's about as big as I can make it, but kind of blow it up for everyone to see. Back it up a little bit. Like that. So we have 5 separate pillars for our strategic plan. If you recall, we have public safety and health, tax dollar value, communication and community, aesthetics, and beach and water. And each one of those has a goal. This is all part of when we first formulated the strategic plan, we came up with these goals. Just to recap, the public health and safety is to provide a safe and healthy environment for our residents. Tax dollar value, deliver the best value for the taxpayer's dollar, prioritize and manage based on the targeted outcomes. communication and community, credible, timely, and transparent information and feedback between the city and residents, engender pride of community. And then aesthetics, we have create a vibrant, well-planned, well-maintained appearance for the city that denotes our sense of community and our quality of life. In beach and waterfront, we have the goal of preserve and protect our city's natural beach and waterfront environments. So for each one of those goals, we would create an objective that fell in line with the plans of the city, so that we make sure that our next steps on what we're trying to accomplish fall in line with our goals, that all result back to these will all come from our city's mission and vision. Where we left off, the last time we really gave a full review of this was in 2023. 2024 was I believe we missed it that year. We tried to touch on it in July, but it was before the budget, right before the budget. So we decided it's best to review the strategic plan early in the year. That's why we're at this February time spot, so that it's well before the budget process, and we have our goals aligned, so that our budget aligns and follows suit. I'm going to circle back to public safety and health.
Are you, is this updating? Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
it is, okay.
Sorry, this is my notes.
Oh, well, that's your different. Got it, okay.
So we have some upcoming things that we need to prepare for. We have some changes with the state, contemplating to change how the homesteaded properties are taxed, which could affect our revenue. There's still some options that are being proposed, so we don't know exactly what the effect is going to be. But I think it's something important to keep in mind as we plan our strategic plan and next year's budget, that we could be facing less revenue. And given that we may have less revenue coming in, we need to carefully look at what services and projects we have and make sure that they're most important and critical projects, rather than maybe projects that something that more so a want, but not necessarily a necessity when we're up against possible shortcomings for our revenue in the next year. So just to kind of go over each one of under each one of these fields, we have some bullet points that describe each one of these goals in more detail, and then from here we want to create objectives that are in line with this. The ensure responsive, high quality emergency services. Some things we've done recently, as we've been pre-staging the sandbags. We started that in 2024, the year that we had the major events. Last year we were too busy with recovery to have anything. Luckily, it was a safe season and we didn't have any major events. This year we spent some time pre-loading those sandbags. We're up to 1,100 currently, so that's about what we did the last season when we did this. And we're putting them in a rental container because the sandbag corral that we used to have had got washed away with the storm. So I'm testing the idea of renting. It's a shipping container. It's a 20-foot shipping container to weatherproof these bags, keep them secure. Also from others getting bags that really shouldn't be getting them. So with that in mind, if the storage container is a good solution for us, they're not very expensive, and we can get a brand new well-painted storage container for about $2,000 to $3,000 delivered. And it could be a nice sand color or something to blend a little bit more naturally, and then we could add possibly some art or something to it to make it a little bit more aesthetic to the park area. But again, like I said, the idea is to for ensure responsive, high quality emergency services, to get ahead of it as much as we can, from our staff standpoint. So that when the storm comes, we're ready as we can be.
How many bags do you think will fit in that container you're looking at?
So right now, we're about full with 1,100 bags. If we had a different type of machine that could get in a little bit narrower, we might be able to get more in just that size container.
Okay.
So it's not a bad start. It takes us, where we're at currently, it took us 3 days. All hands on deck, so we had 6. So myself, Aaron, and or actually 5, myself, Aaron, and the 3 public works.
Okay.
But it was a worthwhile effort, and
Good.
we're glad that we have some stage. So I'd just like to mention that, and also, the next line down, we have the ensure adequate citywide lighting. As you know, that's one of our projects. And we are testing a newer solar light out behind the building here, to see, if it's something that we like, if it's reliable. One of the key points that I like about this new solar setup versus the old Clearworld solar lights is that it's a all-in-one replacement part. So anytime that there's an issue, the computer and the solar cells, it all pops right off the top. So it's involves very little training, really, for staff to get up there and switch things out. So where we are currently with Clearworld, a lot of times things go out inside of the battery packs, which are these long, probably weigh about 30-pound packs. 2 of them go in a pole, and the controllers are built into them. So when we run into an issue that the controller is got a problem, they'll oftentimes send the controller, and then we have to pull apart the battery and change out the controller and then put it all back together and put that in. It involves several days with a lift, and it's an elaborate process, and it takes time. So I'm looking forward to having something simpler if this light, pans out to be as good as the specs say it is. From there, the idea would be to if we like this light, to look at lighting areas of dark spots in the city, and strategically come up with a plan to place more lights throughout the city. I like the solar option since I've been looking at the lights, because we first considered the southern portion of the city where we have the Duke concrete poles, and a lot of those wires are run in between above ground. So we were looking at what it would take to underground about 20 of those poles on the south side of the city originally. And when I got those numbers back in 2020, they were roughly about $6,000 or $7,000 per pole. So it wasn't exactly a cheap endeavor. It involved getting an easement from each property owner. Anytime that we wanted to underground that light cable, we had to get the power from behind the houses and then get an easement signed from both property owners to get it undergrounded in between each one of them. And that's a pretty elaborate process. And we've learned from the Gulf Boulevard underground project that not every resident is willing to give an easement for things, and it can cause difficulty and delay. So then I started looking at solar options, and like I said, in the last 5 years, definitely seen a lot of improvements with the technology. The nice thing about these poles is they're just embedded, so you auger out the hole and they just go in the ground. There's no concrete involved. It's something we can do with a lift. And the first one, they're actually going to show us how to install it with our staff.
So I have kind of a dumb question, if I
Sure.
can just interject it for a second. If we eliminate the poles and the lights, the wires and the lights and the poles, are all the other utilities underground? I know we do clearly, but the cable and any wiring for cable, internet, that sort of thing, is that all underground already as well?
So that on Gulf Boulevard, it is, but still, just like the power in between, it's up on the cable.
Yeah, you're saying like the cable, if anybody's running cable, some of those same ones that are just power, looks like power just between the light poles, South County.
Mhm.
Some of them have cable runs running on them, cable lines. So if you get rid of the cable, if you get rid of the power line, like you're saying, power pole, what do we do with the cable?
Like I've got fiber on the front of my property and then the back of my property has spectrum. So on the poles, so it just depends on
I
which,
just don't know if
depends on
we
which
have a
utility. it is.
duty to keep that active for them, just something.
Yeah, does the pole have to stay there to support the cable? Like,
Or you go with the solar light eventually and that takes care of the pole and the easement problem altogether.
but that house that's only getting spectrum by going across the pole, if you get rid of that cable.
I don't think that's what we're talking about.
I didn't mean to start a big discussion, but something to think about, like,
Right.
do we have a duty to provide them that access, or is that between them and Duke? Who grants them that access? Something to think about in
Okay.
that process.
Yeah.
And that's what
And
you're
then-
doing now, Kyle, is actually evaluating the effectiveness of the solar option and the overall cost as well.
The overall cost and what's involved with, if we were to use Duke as an option.
Right.
But the thing with Duke is, they'll charge us a construction fee for installing the poles, but it also, you have to pay a fee to rent the pole, a fee for the rental of the fixture, and then you still pay power on it. So the nice thing, now it's not like crazy, but those are reoccurring fees that could go up over time, and we all seen the power rates have gone up.
Right.
So,
Good.
okay, and we have ensure safe conditions through proactive maintenance and new infrastructure. And then one of the bullet points we put seawall improvements. That's something we've been working on through our capital projects budget is rehabilitating the seawalls where needed. One thing I dropped a note in here was for the big thing now is the 22nd Street Bridge project. So I think that's what's going to weigh in heavily here is something that we need to have as a focus. Kyle?
Should.
Sorry.
A question concerning the seawalls. What is the city's responsibility for seawalls versus personal property owners? And for personal property owners, where's the bite or enforcement opportunity that we have if they're not properly maintaining them?
So we developed a seawall manual, I think it was around 2020 that we reference in the code and we have it online. So that's kind of our education piece of everything that can go wrong with a resident's seawall. As far as enforcement, if we can visibly identify that it's deteriorating to a point that there's question or concern, then we could serve a violation notice and I believe, ask for some kind of verification or structural integrity test if it's visibly concerning. But it's something that we try to educate more often than not. A lot of old seawalls throughout the city still exist, very old concrete. And there just needs to be replaced with the vinyl overcaps and go from there. The city is responsible for their own seawalls.
Where are ours?
We have, if you count the marina, Belle Isle, and then almost every park property has a seawall that we maintain.
Kyle?
Yeah.
Can I ask a question on the first bullet point on your responsive, high quality emergency services?
Yes.
Is it reasonable to put a bullet point in there related to managing emergency services response times or, because you talk about managing response times and services delivery, but I'm assuming you're talking purely about emergency services such as police and fire and paramedics, EMT, that kind of thing? Would it make some sense in the strategic plan to say something of city supports maximizing the relationship or enhancing response times or helping pre-stage or whatever that is, but I'd like to figure out that we're acknowledging that need for that interaction between emergency services and city.
Yeah. So as an additional bullet.
Yeah, I
there.
think that could
Yeah.
go in there. Yeah, I was focusing on storm events, but you're also bringing up that, just fire, police services as well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
And Kyle, maybe I have a question too, like, so this is a new list of, I guess, I don't know if you want to call them their objectives or whatever to try and meet the new goal. But these are a new list of items for this year.
This is our very last where we left off. So
Objectives.
I want to run through kind of what we're doing.
Okay,
Currently.
but when I look down at the last, like we're down, objective number 1 for this is address and mitigate street flooding issues.
No.
So there's no discussion of that here. Is that just because that's done now and therefore?
You're on slide 37, page 37.
No, I think that the
Yeah.
flooding issues got placed under that when you go to the objectives, just because of the public safety aspect. And it's a main focus of,
Yeah, the objectives are
flood
really,
mitigation.
So I thought you said that this is going to be an input to create new objectives.
So, yeah, so this is kind of like an overview of, everything under this topic. And then from this, we're trying to create goals and objectives of, for the next budget year.
Okay. All right, so do you still believe that street flooding and mitigating that should remain?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, I think that for a long time, we'll always be focused on that.
okay. That was just get clarified. I wasn't sure if this is the old one and this is the new one on the screen. And it's gonna eventually migrate down to new objectives, but now I get it. Thanks.
Okay, and then, so this goes with implement robust disaster management plan, something I wrote here. We have, new statutes that we have to develop, what is online as far as our permitting process through disasters. And that will be effective this year. So that's something that we need to develop. It goes in hand with the Senate Bill 180. And then maintain public bathing beach area. Now, this one's kind of a duplicate because we do have beach, beach and waterfront. So kind of everything will tie back to safety. So there's a lot of duplication in this one. But, just some quick notes, our buoy installation. We have some other things. Our access to the beach, we have some deteriorating chain link fence at the sidewalk access at 2040, which is the motel. It's all a little deteriorated, but the worst section is the last probably 75 feet, or it's really bent up. And I would like to price that out and get that replaced as our part for that access maintenance. And we're working with the motel property and improving the aesthetics of that side of the building, especially when you're walking back behind there. There's a lot of some paint wires that need to be addressed and some soffit that's hanging down. And he said that as soon as he gets through the spring break, he's going to address that for us. He just did not want to get contractors on while he's trying to get some revenue from the spring break. But another thing with the public bathing beach area, it's been brought up recently, is since the sand nourishment and the 3-foot dunes that were installed on the state lands, I've been getting some elderly people with mobility issues having trouble getting up and over the 3-foot dune. I mean, beaches aren't exactly very easy to walk across, especially if you're handicapped or something similar. But what I did look at that may provide some footing, I'm sure you guys heard of it, the Moby mats, but you can get a relatively short Moby mat that would help. It's worth a try, I believe, to get up over the dune. You can get like one that's about 15 to 20 feet. That's about what you would need to get up. And I could test it to see if that does offer some more stability.
You're just talking the dune, you talk about where the oceans cut the beach replenishment down.
Just the dune that was built inside of where that ledge is formed.
Complaints like last beach cleanup about the drop off.
Yes. So it's, as you know, every time we have renourishment projects, tide washes up and it cuts off the sand and it creates like ledges out there. Usually the first time is the worst. And we've been out there with the skid loader knocking it down to make so someone can't fall off onto hard sand into some easier fall. But it's tough to keep up with because you get another high tide wash and it does a new cut. So we've been reducing it, but it kind of catches right back up to us. We did a whole week of a skid loader rental. And, we ended up with less of a cliff, but we're back to a cliff after that week. So
Amazing how much of that sand drifted down beyond 18th Street already.
Yeah, we're having a lot of trouble keeping the sand out of the park. Because I'm right there where it cuts, there's a large amount of sand storms right in.
Just amazing and how much has drifted up from 28th Street.
I think it was good as well where in the plan, just periodically down the beach, like going more towards Clearwater, they've allowed openings there for different condos, you know, so they're not just tearing it up themselves. You know, so they have a walkthrough path to get to the beach as opposed to walking through the newly vegetated area as well. So I don't know whether it's going to hold up, but I think it helps a little bit.
Okay. So then we have facilitate healthy lifestyles for residents. We have maintained walking easements. You know, that's kind of they exist. We looked at doing some improvement to the surface or possible paving a little while. I think it was 2020, and you know, we surveyed the residents. We found out that that wasn't really a direction we wanted to go in. And then we have address future transportation impacts. So we still have street repaving. We've worked through most of it. We got through all it that were originally yellow, red, or orange on our index. So we're up with some of the best streets that we initially started with back in 2019, but they are now our worst conditioned streets, and that includes the remainder of Hibiscus Drive West that we haven't paved, Belle Isle, and some of the side streets. We are still saving 75,000 a year for resurfacing. We're slated right now. We won't be able to do another repaving until about 3 years of accumulating funds.
Where are we at with Bay Shore? Or is that on the list too?
Bay Shore's on that as well. Yeah. And then continue to monitor contractor permitting and zone compliance. That just goes back to code enforcement. And monitor 12th Street crosswalk and traffic situation. I believe we did look at that pretty in depth with the county, working through that intersection.
Yeah,
so
I think the
public health,
the new technology, traffic lights, and I know they set that up somehow, like the busiest anticipated left-hand turn time of the day, to where if you come up there with a double left-hand turn and there's no traffic coming from the bridge or from the south to the north, the light will change very quickly to allow you to turn, which is excellent. I did see somebody, I was in the left hand of the two turn lanes, and another car came up to me on my right, and in front of me was another car. And they sat there for 10 or 15 seconds, and the light was clearly red. And they just made a left-hand turn. And the lady to the right of me, I looked over at her, she just went like, what was that? Because she saw it as well as I did. So luckily there was no traffic coming, but I don't know what empowered that person to think they could just go. They did have a non-Florida license plate in the back of their car, but it could have been ugly, but it wasn't. So that's a good thing, but yeah. I think the new light system is helping. Now, any other time but a weekday, early morning-ish time, it really just seems like it's on a time signal change as opposed to a traffic signal change. But I think the traffic signal change is effective.
yeah, I think it definitely is helpful when the traffic is greatly reduced and you're sitting in a light and there's no one around. And then I think what the county has a major control center they have over by the Clearwater Toyota, and they sequence all those lights together. So I think later in the day, it's all depending on all the other lights and how the traffic's moving.
Yeah, it is impressive.
System. Okay. So then moving on to tax dollar value. These are a little bit shorter in nature than the health and safety. So the best value, so this focuses on effective, efficient, sustainable, and resilient. And we have our first bullet point: continue to invest in human resources and city staff. I believe we've done that. We've added the Public Works service member in the last year. And it's been working out well for us. And we also continue to optimize CIP with reserve projections. We took a look at the loans, the city debt that we currently have last go around with the audit committee / citizens advisory board. And they analyzed where the interest rates are at currently and what we're making on our interest from our SBA loan or our SBA accounts. And they thought it made more sense to keep the earning interest as opposed to trying to pay off our loans at a quicker rate.
Okay.
But we'll look at that again this year. We'll reanalyze where the rates are. And then we have the Citizens Advisory Committee, which is to continue to engage. They also serve as the audit committee, and we'll be bringing them around the last week of March before they'll take a look at the audit, the ACFR, and after they review it, then we'll do a presentation at the April meeting from our auditors, and then from there we'll turn it into the state. So yep, we usually engage them in the early spring, so we're gonna be calling them in at the end of March, and then we'll work from there as far as the budgeting process. Maximize return on investment. It says City Hall Marina. At one point, we did a heavy look with the planning and zoning board to see any different revenue streams we could possibly pull in through our parks and properties. We still have that report in case we're looking for other forms of revenue. We haven't done too much except for when we reassessed the marina fees, and we did a steady increase with the marina rate from 2020 to 2025. Over those years, the non-resident per foot charge increased by $5 over that time period, and for the resident increased by $3. So something to think about maybe moving forward if we do run into more problems up with our revenue for our services. Leverage grant special assessments. It says continue to policy integrate with all capital projects and budget process. Special assessments, we have a citywide stormwater assessment that we instituted in 2019, I believe. And that stayed the same. So that is $15 per month, single family home, and $10 per unit for the condominium properties. And that's solely that revenue goes to the stormwater budget. That's why we break it off as a separate fund. And the special assessment we still have is at Bellevue Estates Island, where they were one of the first to take on a special assessment to pay for their undergrounding for every property on that island. And that is a 20-year loan that'll be complete by 2038.
How many roughly properties still have their assessment open? I know many of them paid it off on the front end.
I would say maybe a third are completely paid off. Recall, a lot of times when they sell, they'll get paid off. Yeah. Leverage technology and communications. We've been, we redid our website 2 years ago. We've been trying to incorporate more of the social media posts connected to our website to keep a following and drum up more interest in the city events and meetings. And then again, this is what we're trying to do right now, budget process based on the strategic plan. So yeah, developing our budget based on these goals and objectives. We have 2 grant applications in with FDEP. It's resilient and coastal protection. So one of them was for the 22nd Street Bridge, and then the other is for possible pump projects. We were talking about it. The awards for that won't be announced till probably late spring, early summer. I checked in with them today. But it is the Resilient Florida Program, which is the newer grants that are all linked to a vulnerability assessment that you need to perform in order to qualify for these grants, and that's what is underway right now with Pinellas County. So we're looking forward to having that prerequisite complete so that we can have access to some of the funding. And hopefully we can meet those cost benefit ratios to get some funding for stormwater projects.
Are we using the Florida League of Cities at all to help us with grants?
They have the grant. I don't know if it's like a generator or like the listing that sends every month. I've looked through that for a long time. I haven't really found anything
Okay,
that jumped out the benefit. You
all
know,
right. Just curious.
if you hear anything or they direct us to any grants that they think of, we have a shot at being
Okay.
interested. A lot of the times we do stormwater projects, we struggle with meeting the cost of the project versus the return. They want a 1-to-1 ratio, and we struggle to show that we're going to the project, the investment in the project is going to return or prevent that much more damage for as much as we're putting into it.
Okay,
So that's where we've struggled. We've gotten creative with trying to show loss of income and loss of travel and all that on these streets that get the nuisance flooding, but it hasn't been enough. Nuisance flooding hasn't been enough on the damage side to be able to validate the cost of the project.
okay,
If it was an area that was much more significant structural damage affecting houses a lot more, then I think it would be easier to hit. We're kind of like right on the tier of nuisance versus like a major situation that we can show that, you know, every year there's that much damage that we need to invest in a project.
Okay.
A lot of times you hear a lot, the short acres in St. Petersburg, and they're doing pump projects, and they're actually putting a lot of similar valves that we use. Over at Shore Acres, from what I've heard, is they flood a lot worse than we do here. But they did get funding. They got like $1 million from the state for that whole area.
okay. Yeah, it is pretty bad down there. I mean, they just get what we would consider a heavy summer rain and they flood all over the place.
Yeah, it's very similar. They get high tides and the rain can't go anywhere,
Right,
but it seems like it really fills up over there
yeah.
pretty quickly.
Like certain areas of here,
Sorry?
like certain areas in here,
Yeah,
the city.
Yeah,
correct.
Okay. All right, so the next one is communication and community. We want to manage resident expectations. We put project schedule and effectiveness, project schedule and effectiveness, i.e. stormwater mitigation. So resident expectations, like this is something we've tried to focus on when we were discussing the pump station. We were trying to be very clear in the problem, addressing the problem, identifying the problem, defining it of the nuisance flooding in the road, and what we were trying to alleviate with the pump.
Right,
We wanted to make sure that the residents didn't think that the pump was going to solve all flooding problems, because we know if Mother Nature comes with a force, we can't stop it. So that's something, anytime we're doing stormwater projects moving forward, I think it's important that we stress, what we hope to achieve out of the project, but be very, very clear on that, we're still on a barrier island, and vulnerable to a lot of flooding, and with the right events, we should all be prepared, because there's some things that can't be stopped, and we always have to remember that. Timely, accessible, user friendly. This goes back to kind of like website functionality, and forms. We've done a lot more online fillable forms in the past 3 years. One thing we'd like to is do an online form for the pods. That's something we'll be discussing more in chapter 94. A lot of times when people, put the pods, we have so many days you're allowed to have it, but you're supposed to come in and get a permit and pay for it. A lot of times people are not getting that information and getting the proper permit. So we're trying to simplify that and get more information out there so that it's easier for residents to complete and they don't have to come in to do it.
So do you get a lot of traffic on the Ask the City Manager?
Fairly. I mean, I get a lot of spam and, solicitation too. I don't know why they choose that. It might be the bots.
I know.
Decide to go do that way.
I've sent a message once, like, does this work? And I think I got a reply, but. I did.
That's weird. I remember that long ago. Increase functionality of the city website. We've been trying to utilize our newest staff member. She's our admin assistant, Andrea, and she's just very quick with all the newer technology and applications. So I'm trying to use her youth and knowledge of what she's involved in to kind of share our information to that group.
Younger than us?
That's me by a lot.
Okay.
Increase the function. Okay, we did that. Is this ADA compliance? We're up to speed with that. As far as making sure that all the images and on the website are a person that has disabilities can still use the website and the way they're supposed to be able to. And then not all other quality municipal websites, and that's kind of what we did because it was Town of Bel Air that we liked, that we took that design from.
Okay.
Continue to build contact list of residents. This is ongoing. There's some residents that just prefer not to give their contact information. They don't want it as a public record. So it's a little bit of a struggle to get everyone participating. But our current list is now up to 483 contacts. Now, some of them may be husband, wife, family members, but it's still growing. We verify that they're all, residents of the city. And we've just been growing it since. So that's anytime we're sending out the, email blast or, the city news is going through that channel.
Hey, Kyle,
So do you think that's about, I'm sorry, go ahead.
do we build that list off of like parking permits? Because like people come in and provide their registration for their parking permits.
That's a contact, like when people come in for the passes or just new residents inquiring, then we'll try to get them signed up.
Good.
For that. If somebody just like shoots an email or calls and says, hey, I want to get on the list, and we can put them on that way as well.
So if you had to guess, you think what, 25-30% of our residents were able to contact through emails? Do you think it's that high?
It's tough. It's tough to judge. I think it's mostly the involved full-time residents that are on that list, and we do get some that it's their second home, but they just like to stay involved with what's going on. And
Okay.
but I was definitely under 50%. I feel like we're reaching as
Okay.
far as properties. And then continue to engage the community, town hall meetings, and we got Bel Air Beach 101. I believe that's just mainly the teaching citizens about the budgeting process. But some of the town hall meetings we've done, if you recall, into 24, we had the one FEMA meeting. Because there was a lot of residents that were seeking information on grants. And then we did one for the fire station idea.
Right.
So we've done a couple of those. I think previous to that was the we were talking about the buoys and where the buoys are going to be on the beach. We did one for that.
I do remember that one. Yeah.
Let's see. Aesthetics. We got foster code compliance versus enforcement. Ongoing. We keep developing our code enforcement program. Ideally, we're always trying to reduce that ratio of the complaints to the proactive enforcement, trying to get the finding more violations before they become complaints, but there are always going to be some that we just don't know about until someone notifies us, whether it's just we don't have a line of sight of what the violation is or just unaware. So it does help when people do report. So we do appreciate when people call in the code violations and let us know. Modernized lighting, streets, parks, beach accesses and public spacing. Again, this is back to solar lighting. And then thoroughly evaluate solar options and grants. That's what we're doing. Master plan for Golf Boulevard beautification. So we put under here, we put wooden pole replacement. That's something we've looked into. It's going to be a very pricey project if we were to take it on our own, because our current setup of light poles on Golf Boulevard are not to spec of what that what Golf Boulevard should have for lighting. So if we do adjust the lighting or improve it, we have to bring it up to standards. So it does involve a lot more poles on Golf Boulevard. This would be something that another project that would be beneficial to us, like the undergrounding, if the county was to do a project for upgrading the streetlights.
Okay.
That would be something that we want.
Al, do we have a Gulf Boulevard lighting aesthetic protocol or procedure, or, I mean, you said we're gonna need a lot more poles. How was that determined? Is there?
It's all by spacing, that they've given me light diagrams,
That's
so
Duke,
we have
Duke's providing that, or that's what's that?
just lighting companies like Duke will do one, like an illumination study, but all the solar companies will also do it when you're.
Oh, so you're saying we need more lighting because it's gonna be solar lighting?
Any lighting on Golf Boulevard, right now, we're not to what the specifications are. If it was like a new road built.
Got it.
We're just grandfathered in because we just have old poles, and as long as we don't touch them or relocate them, we can stay with what we're at.
So where does the county's responsibility fall?
Yeah.
It's their street, it's their
Yeah,
road,
why do we have to pay for the Gulf Boulevard lighting?
something we should look into.
Or even the county.
I mean, does Bel Air Shores pay for both? Lighting?
Yeah, everyone pays their own jurisdiction.
So, okay, so you're saying, okay. So
I mean, they do.
it's the
like,
same
just like
light,
with the
right?
undergrounding.
We're sharing a light, is that what it is? We share the lights between,
No, we don't share them, but we pay the power for those lights. And if we want to change them out, we'd pay for it.
So with-
lights
so
on the
with-
west side are Bel Air Shores, the west side
Yes.
of Gulf Boulevard. On the east side,
They're really
Ours.
bad.
Only where their jurisdiction is.
right. So they don't light over there, okay. I
They're-
thought they all lit up the street, so. Just alternating, but okay.
You're right, that's probably a good grant project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And talking to the county too for, some of those resiliency.
When the undergrounding occurs, does the current large poles holding voltage, are those being pulled out?
So the higher
The tall ones?
voltage
high
wires are
voltage.
coming
High
down.
voltage
The only
ones.
thing you're gonna have is a secondary that's feeding the lights.
Okay.
Yeah,
Which are all those little wooden poles that.
Yeah. not really aware on that.
Got it.
I'll have to look at that more carefully. So there's unique poles just for lighting.
It's quite interesting if you actually drive from Bel Air Beach over to Clearwater Beach and you see the poles stop and it's just undergrounded. And then you do the exact same thing from Bel Air Beach to Indian Rocks Beach and they're undergrounded. And it's like, we are this eyesore
Right.
of poles and lines that nobody else has. And I'm just trying to figure out, why are we so far behind
We're
the
just a
curve?
little slow at getting it done.
Right.
And it's two municipalities, I think, pulling together
Yeah.
to make it happen, so.
And that's what we're doing right now, with the undergrounding.
Right. And Indian Rocks isn't complete with theirs. I expect us to be the first ones done.
So what did they do? Did they put, sorry, maybe I don't want to divert too long, but they put,
They're undergrounding as well, but a lot of the, like.
they had put
Madera
up
Beach-
light poles to house the new lights, right?
I don't know about Indian Rocks. I know Reddington Shores did new poles.
But if you just go up to Sand Key, what Clearwater Beach did,
And what did they do?
they have those big metal poles, kind of like what you see.
And are they owned by, they're like the Duke poles in that case? Okay.
Yes.
Right, okay.
They're Duke.
So, and then they pay maintenance to not only just power them, but to own them, I guess, to rent them.
Yeah. In power. Yeah, the new turtle,
Correct.
amber lights, with the white poles look pretty nice. They're a lot just more compact looking and uniform.
Almost
But
every
it's a big-
development you see, that's what they do. Office parks.
And with
industrial
light?
parks. They charge, that's, everyone pays for. No one gets a light pole for free or lights for free.
No,
Right, right. Yeah, I get inside of development, but you would think like a major throughway like Gulf Boulevard, but okay. Just
As far as the-
Nation route or something, you know?
yeah, I would.
the holiday decorations, we currently have, we're up to 36 lights, so we got quite a bit.
That's
that we
great.
can do every year, so.
Yeah, they look
Improvement.
nice.
Yeah.
Nice improvement.
Expand marina parking lot utilization. I did check into this because we've been discussing options of additional spaces for things at the marina parking lot, and currently Dr. Bishop of Coastal Management said that the agreement utilizes 34 spots in that lot. So he said he couldn't guarantee that it wouldn't go up to get more credit in the future, but we got a parking diagram that I think it's over 75 spots or 75 exactly is what a company designed in that area if we were to section off how many spaces are in the lot. So we have more than enough currently. So there is some room because there was a concern that we couldn't take away or utilize any other area of that parking lot because we wouldn't have enough space for the nourishment program, but
Good,
that
then
is
make them
not true.
37 and put free up two at Morgan Park.
And get those back.
I think it's a proximity of where that's
Saying
at.
that's. I think I've always been told we can't because we've used every parking space, but I'm just saying that's something I'll add to our list, our wish list, to put resident designated parking at Morgan Street.
Say that one more time.
To put some resident designated parking
Okay.
spaces at Morgan Street.
Specific residents, yeah.
Yeah, I'll get
They don't-
the details on that.
Oh, why we can't do that because they are the public or residents. We're just exempt from paying.
It's supposed to be open to all.
Yeah, but but we're part of the all. Right?
A portion of it, but it'd be limiting to everyone else.
No, all we're doing is waiving the fee to collect.
And making sure those.
We're still the public.
I think you have to have that many spots available for public parking, like all public.
And if we park in that spot, we don't pay, but at the same time,
But you're not gonna find a spot there.
no, that's what I'm
When
saying.
you want-
The issue is not the issue is not the payment, the issue is the availability.
Right.
Right.
Right, yeah. And then we did expand that lot before I came on by like 2 or 3 spots just to meet the numbers. I remember.
They took it used to be designated. There were like 4 designated spaces. That's probably what they expanded. Was they probably took those designated spaces away from residents.
So those were only for people that had a parking pass,
Anyway.
resident parking pass. Okay.
I'm checking.
When you live on versus your end,
I walk there.
We
I
also
walk
have
it every day.
I know you did. You're a good one.
We also have the minimized above ground utilities, similar to underground project. This is something we've discussed in the city's jurisdiction. Like Bellevue Estates Island did their own assessment, but it's something that we could try to tackle in sections of the city if we have some people to champion. You got to work through a lot of easements
Right.
and get a lot of sign-ons. But it is, something that we could consider, trying to drive forward in the future.
I'd like to see that as a kind of a documented process. Here's how each street or each neighborhood clan could follow the procedure that we did prior, because like before it was like forging new ground. It was like a brand new process. Nobody knew how it would work. And now that we've been through it, I think there's a lot of lessons learned that a lot of people could learn from
Correct.
it.
If we had underground utilities, I assume and if the city did that, I assume the city would be paying to run those lines. But what about from that line to the individual homes and structures?
think
Who
that's-
pays for
I
that?
think that's a homeowner.
So everything would would most likely be assessed like Bellevue Estate Island. It would just be strategically how to section it, to get enough support to be able to approve the assessment. And, so then what they did with Bellevue Estates Island is they summed up all the costs. There were general as far as undergrounding the supply wires, and then they found each property that was already undergrounded and the ones that had above service, and they separated them out in their own loan for undergrounding their
To the house.
to their house, yeah, their service line.
Just as a point of reference, I thought this was kind of interesting because obviously it's above ground power where I am. And I'm paying to underground from the pole to the house.
Right.
And that little 15-foot run or whatever it is $9,000.
Right, that's about what we found, about 10,000. I
Yeah.
think there was 8,000 they did over in Bellevue Isle Estates for
So it's
those.
a one-time charge, right? Yeah.
One-time charge, yeah.
And it's really complicated where the power lines run behind the houses versus in front, because then the easements are a lot more difficult.
Yeah,
But yeah, that was, when Glenn was really initiating this, and he's like, it would be great if, each neighborhood, like, a couple of streets would get together to make it more, because that was the beautiful thing about 22nd is they had all those fingers that ran off at 22nd, so they could hit an entire neighborhood.
Mhm.
Whereas, the rest of us are one street and it's hard to make it work.
Right.
We got a price for Harrison, it was 25,000 per household. So that was a lot, because we have the, underwater
Right.
crossing with that little bridge. No one was that interested in paying that much money. Bellevue Isles was 15, I think, if they included the overhead to the house too. It wasn't huge, is that right? Am I saying 15,000?
I never saw Bellevue's numbers.
Hmm.
I remember yours.
They came in lower too. though.
Subaqueous
They
was
did an
what it was
original
supposed to
special
be.
assessment. I think it was like 24,000.
They had so many
And
homes.
then that final price actually went down and they actually rebated some because they gave some people the ability to pay up front and then other people could pay over, what was it, 10 years or 15 years on the property tax?
So Mayor Gaddis, maybe you can help us out with some of those number estimates.
Yeah, I don't have those numbers in front of me. I wasn't prepared to have that conversation, but what I can tell you is that that I still owe money. I did not pay it up front. There were some advantages to not paying it up front, such as if I decide to upgrade, move somewhere else, sell out, that debt is passed on to the new owner. So that's the reason why I did it that way. Also, there were differences between each home. Some of the homes were already buried from the pole to the house, so that made it a little more affordable. There were others that had to have their entire meter box changed out to make it work. So everybody wasn't the same. Everybody sort of had their own deal depending upon how they were configured before the project started. What I can tell you is that there is definitely strength in numbers, and the more people you get involved, or the more streets you get involved, the more cost effective it is, because mobilization is always one of the biggest expenses. And then you get as you buy more material, the overall cost is less per household. So it was something that I tried to see if there were more streets in the city that would be interested in doing it, and there just really wasn't enough interest. Trying to do a citywide project was not realistic. But fortunately, my neighborhood and the streets that joined to 22nd Street, they were all in, and I will say that we're very blessed to have what we have, and I don't mind paying the assessment every year.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, and I understand that their power got a lot more reliable. They
Yeah.
did all that underground because it was getting blown and damaged all the time.
More clean, yeah.
And then the last thing we have on here is to maintain a citywide maintenance program. And then we put mature manicured foliage and vegetation. I think it's the ongoing, what our public works has been doing, so.
Yep.
And then the last one is beach and waterfront. Continue beach and swimmer safety, which is the buoy program. Beach and nourishment, we just completed another project funded by the tourist development dollars. Red tide mitigation, luckily we haven't had red tide in a couple of years, at least.
Yeah.
Case blew it out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then waterfront code enforcement, again, we still have the anchored vessel problem. I think we're down to one on this side now, the catamaran. But I feel like since the storms that they're getting rid of the derelict a little faster, so something changed from the state or made the money come faster, but it seems like they're at least clearing out the ones that aren't operational quicker. So the sheriff's been putting I guess a lot of staff to get that done. But again, if the boat is operational, we're still left with no real means of getting it out of there.
Okay.
And then get down, I'm sorry, I didn't flip this one. So we get back to our objectives and just going down the list. We have addressed and mitigate street flooding issues, and I think that is still a major objective that we have on our list. We have developed a streetlight lighting plan. That's something that is ongoing. But again, I don't know if that's going to be a priority in this upcoming year when we have major bridge repairs that we're concerned with. The access to assess Causeway Boulevard and Gulf Boulevard intersection. I believe that we've done that quite a bit on the last couple of years. We also have analyzed economic impacts, CIP and reserve funds. That's something we do annually with the audit committee. Explore alternative funding. That's another ongoing, constantly looking at new grant programs and trying to learn how we can get money and funding from state. Increase usability of the website. Like I said, we've restructured the website. We've been trying to add more content as much as we can to get more eyes on it. I'm not sure where to go exactly from here, but I'm open to suggestions on that. Develop city meeting summaries. That's something you guys have seen after the regular meetings where you see like a quick recap just to get the information out there and keep people up to date.
I go to everybody who's given us their email.
Yeah, that goes to everybody on
Okay.
the email list. And the idea behind that is just kind of keep people in the know and involved without taking too much of their time.
Mhm.
Coordinate code enforcement survey and analysis. That's something we can do again this year. Try to find out, where the gaps are in our code enforcement and what our residents want us to focus on. Develop a citywide curb repair program. Again, we still have some streets to pave. There are some damaged curbs. Historically, we've been doing them at the same time because it just makes sense to re-pour concrete and while you got it all cut out. So you have a nice clean product at the end. We have the Bay Shore, which was brought up earlier. We have that street now surveyed. So we have information to move forward with making adjustments in the future to the curbs where it needs. If you recall, a lot of those streets that fed into Bay Shore, the inlets for the drainage is on Bay Shore, but they had to kind of come around the curves to get to Bay Shore to go down the drain.
Water.
So we took it all the way to getting it cleanly down to the end of the road, but it's something when we do Bay Shore, we gotta kind of tie in all that curb to get so it's not damaged and it cleanly gets without puddling as best as possible to the inlets.
We don't repair curb damage caused by construction, right? The construction people before they leave has to repair it, right?
So yeah, like for instance, we had Cedar, we had a demolition
Yeah.
that broke some of the new curbs, so we had to have them come out and
So,
report it.
okay, so we hold
Yeah.
them accountable. Okay.
Sometimes it's like, the new curb and the new asphalt, within a couple of months, we've had some incidents where it got damaged from regular trucks or
Yep, yep.
lowering gates and
Yep.
it's kind of tough to come up and get, repair
Yeah.
for things like that.
And this is, I know I've beat this dead horse, but I'm just saying, when someone pulls a permit, we should charge them some road improvement impact fees at permitting, because inevitably there's road damage, there's curb damage, and it just goes in a fund and, and that fund is there to repair the damage that's done. It happens every time. I'm just watching it. I mean, I saw it on Harrison from the day we paved. There were trucks turning and causing damage to the
Carving
road,
it, yeah.
and I'm watching it with these houses being raised. I called you about one incident, and there's continuous damage because these contractors just want to get in and out, and I watch them, one after another but I know we're looking at objectives, and I think at some point, some of these things need to roll off. We need to replace them with some
Right.
new ideas. And that would be, when we're saying that we want to maintain our roads. There's so much construction going on in the city that's causing so much damage. And it's not like it's not a road impact fee, but maybe, maybe it's a road improvement fund that you have to pay into to get your permit, whether it's an extra
Just call it a development impact fee.
right, it's an extra 500, whatever number we settle on, but something that's reasonable, but you're pulling permits, you're causing damage, you're bringing, and I use the bridges constantly, because those bridges are rated for a certain weight,
Mhm.
and those trucks loaded with concrete far exceed that weight. But there's no way to get to the house that's at the other side of the bridge, so you can't get around it, but
So would that be for every permit pulled? I want to put, permit, you're gonna put an impact. fee on
I'm
it?
just saying, I don't know, that's where we gotta, that's where,
Is it type of permit?
It's not legally possible.
Okay.
You guys are going down a path that it's not legally possible.
Let's put it,
that's what the planning committee.
let's put a
this way.
impact fee on Amazon. They're up and down my street every night. At my wife's call.
So I appreciate that input, Tom. So you're saying you've run across that before where towns or cities have tried to say, let's implement an impact fee?
So there is a state statute that talks about how you put in place an impact fee.
Okay.
And it requires a major study. And then you have to show what the impact is that you're trying to resolve. And so there's a whole process. You just can't pick out, $500 on every building permit you're gonna charge somebody. So, because first of all, you can't associate an impact with a building permit fee because they're two different funds. The building fees have to go in a particular fund and used for a particular purpose. But the impact fee statute, which was adopted a couple of years ago, is very, very specific on how you do that.
Mhm.
You're gonna have to hire a consultant to do an impact fee study. And then you have to determine, well, is it gonna be a recreational impact fee, a transportation impact fee? Is it gonna be a culture impact fee? I mean, there's all sorts of different things that you can charge, but as for transportation, you should already be charging a transportation impact fee, or collect it at least through the county. The county has that fee in place. Does the city collect that?
Yeah,
Okay, so there you go. So
we only get it if it's a new development though.
So 50% of that would be retained in the city, 50% go to the county. So you already have a transportation impact fee then.
Define new development.
So if somebody demos like a 2,500 square foot house and then rebuilds it, we don't get anything. Because they're already at the maximum square footage and it's been collected. So if they were like a smaller size house and they built to a bigger size house, we could get the difference in that square footage
It
that
was
they
like
have.
once in a lifetime or once per property
That's how it was explained to
valuation.
me
Okay.
from the county.
But it is okay to do what we are doing where when they break something during the construction and we ask them to fix it,
Absolutely.
that's okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. If we have somebody that damages city property, we need to collect from those people that are damaging our property.
Right, okay.
Yeah,
So maybe that's the answer, is just paying
Yeah,
more
of course.
closer attention.
When it happens.
Yeah.
yeah,
Right, right.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you know, from experience, like when someone mars the road,
There's not much you can do.
it's tough to
Yeah.
get recourse.
Or the collect.
And for the license.
Most contractors will call it AD. Move on.
Where were we at?
Beach and water.
Beach and water, so we got, Pinellas County renourishment funding that the mayor has been actively, very involved with getting that.
Was that gonna be an ongoing thing? So we're gonna,
It should be reoccurring. The county just took it
Okay.
over because the Army Corps wasn't going to
Right.
do it.
right, okay, so
Can
that's.
I add something to that?
Yes,
The
sir.
county claims they don't have the funds to do it. They're not able to do it over and over. They claim that it was a one-shot deal just to get it done because they're not collecting enough bed tax to do it every time. But the way that I see it is actually that's totally not true. They are collecting enough money to do that, but they can't do other capital projects if they fund the beaches every time. I believe in the long run, they're going to come around and realize that Army Corps is never going to do this for us again without those easements that they'll never get. And face it, the beach is their cash cow. So they can say it over and over. They're not going to do it. We saw them put giant dunes out there once already, and we've seen them renourish the beach better than it's ever been done with bed tax money. So we'll just keep lobbying like we've been doing. And whenever I'm no longer eligible, somebody else can step up and carry the torch.
Okay.
Good, okay.
So Kyle, you use this strategic plan that we have for the city as a tool, obviously, to make sure what we're working on is in line with the plan. Is there anything that we can do individually or as a group to provide you with more information? Let's say one of the council members just takes it upon themselves to review this and say, I think this would be a good idea to add this to this area. Is that something you would welcome?
Yes, please. Yeah, ideas for new objectives that are in line with our goals.
Okay,
Yes, and then we can discuss them and come up with 2 or 3 for each category.
okay,
Some of these, you know, like the public health and safety, I think we're still gonna have a couple on there, but some of them, we need some new ones, or at least to expand on the direction we're going.
okay. So we can just send those to you independently,
Yeah.
and then you can gather them and
And then at the
we can have
next
another workshop.
meeting, we can workshop through the
Perfect.
new objectives.
All right. Anybody have any other questions about this particular item, the discussion of the strategic plan? Mayor Gaddis? We good?
I'm good.
Okay. Next item is the code review, chapter 94 zoning. So we went through a portion of this last time. So where are we now, Kyle?
So, I could do it 2 ways. We could either go back on some of the items that we needed more information on, we already covered in the previous chapters. Or we can continue at page 198, which was where we left off in chapter 94, and work all the way through it and then circle around.
Your choice.
Does anyone have a preference, or
I prefer to keep going,
keep going
just finish the review.
and then come back through?
Yeah, is the comeback all the way, is just this chapter or the
No,
whole thing?
Just
Just a couple of questions.
eight different points that we went through that I wanted to.
Okay. I guess I'm game for either.
So let me just ask this, if we blow through those 8 points that we have to discuss, then we can start. Are we trying to do all of this in one meeting, get all of these revisions? Because I know it's gonna be a lot on our legal team to get the language right. Can we finish those 8 points and what we've already reviewed? Let them get started so we can bring it to council for a vote.
On the chapters that so you could do it like
Yeah.
some of the chapters reviewed? Oh,
It's pretty long, so I think we need to get through that before we can really put the other chapters into ordinance form, because you gotta figure out how they align with each other. So I think,
It's the most expeditious. That's what I'm looking.
if we go back, I think if we go back on some of the early chapters and we work out the points, then those could go to ordinance form sooner.
Okay.
That we at least be getting some revisions done and some new
Yeah,
code adopted.
swap it out. Some
How
of
about
it.
we take a quick break, then we'll come back and we'll do that. So about 7:40.
Starting with what section?
Well, I'm gonna go back, we'll start on page 40,
Page
Page
40.
40.
which
is not in this packet,
Page
right?
40 of the PD.
is on the overall packet.
With exceptions.
It's gonna be section 1033 time
1032.
limits
Okay, 2:33.
32,
And 32.
say.
and 33. Page 40 on the-
Okay, so-
Look right under the permits.
Time limits.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
Right.
some of these are quick.
okay. So 7:40. We'll start up.
Should be starting on.
40. You have the PDF. 33 of the PDF.
Page 40, you say.
He loaded it.
Scary that there are that many.
What?
It's scary that there are that many pages.
Oh, no.
That we're only on 40?
All right, it's now 7:40. Call back to order. We're now going to start with section 10-33, time limits.
Okay, so this was just a rearrange. It was out of order for what made sense logically. So I just, reformatted it so that we had, the largest size construction project at the top and worked its way down to the smaller projects. And did the same for the completion. So that for the extensions as well,
Okay.
so that they're in line.
Well,
40 and 41, yep.
for clarification, the valuations on here are evaluations of the permit. More than 300,000, less than 300,000.
Yes, that's for the
valuation of the permit.
that is what is provided for the overall total cost of the project.
Thank you.
And then, so that was 41, we'll go to 42. And then this is just adjusted because instead of doing to the first half of the permit, we're gonna allow for the duration of the permit. For the roller dump trailers and dumpsters. That will provide enough time because we thought the first half was gonna be too short for them.
We, for some reason, I noted the limit to one container.
Okay. And we can add that. If we want to specify.
Containers on the site, is that why? I don't know
So-
why I put that on there, but yeah.
Yeah, they're supposed to have at least one dumpster, if it's an active site. And then we've seen them use multiple trailers. If they're using dump trailers and if you want to limit.
I don't know. I didn't know if that was something we talked about. So that was just I guess I had a question there on that.
My main thing was to make sure that if they are using a trailer, that they're parked on hard surface, like paved surface, as opposed to people's front yards and just all over the place. So just get a little more control over it. Then we're going to 53.
What was on 44?
I didn't have 44. I was on 42 and I'm going to 53.
On 44, you had your comment something.
Oh, if I didn't, on the stuff we already covered, if we just approved it, I tried to highlight it so you
Okay.
can see it.
Okay.
So now on page 53.
On 53. Now, this is where we were talking about the parking surfaces. And we were trying to figure out if like if they're parking and if they have this 9-foot wide additional parking area that is contained gravel. And we were worried that they could be putting it right on the road, so the idea here would be to write in to allow that 9-foot space, but it could not be in that first 4 feet of the right of way. So that people aren't creating spaces right off the edge of the road that could lead to visibility issues and things pulling out of the.
So to be set back a minimum of 4 feet from.
Minimum, they'd have to build that 9-foot contained space off
Okay.
their driveway 4 feet away from the edge of the road.
Okay.
And this one kind of plays into when we go to the section on mulch. I tried to separate out different ideas of where we allow mulch and what mulch we allow, so I'll cover that as we get to it. But I was trying to write this one in to be in line with what we do with the mulch.
I know we discussed a little bit, but what did we say about people that already that violate this? If we go with the 4 feet offset or the easement, no following the road for the 4 feet. What do we do about those people? They would have to come in compliance.
We'd have to build in a time period for them to change out their
6 months.
material.
What's that?
It was suggested 6 months at the last meeting.
Okay, but we were gonna make them come back into compliance, come into compliance into a new rule. Okay.
Yeah, and the main reason would be just to eliminate floating material as much as possible that gets into the storm drains.
Mhm.
Cause issues. Okay, and then we're going to 72. Work that way. Okay. All right, so I added, this is the basketball hoop.
Mhm.
So we were talking about the anchor system, so I amended it to say basketball hoops anchored by a base weight and maintaining good repair are exempt from this requirement.
Are you talking about permanent or are you talking about the mobile?
Talking about the mobile. But we wanted to make sure that it, was one of those mobile anchored basketball hoops.
So there's a basketball hoop on, I think it's 23rd, where it's anchored and the hoop is actually hanging over the street.
It's a mobile one though.
It's a mobile,
They got it in the
but
right
it's
spot.
permanently sitting there with weights anchored and the hoop is over the street. So are we saying that's permitted? Because I always thought that was like a temporary.
It would have to be on their private property. It shouldn't be right in the right way.
I guess, why are we making an assumption or an adjustment just for mobile basketball hoops? Why is this a permanent basketball hoop requirement?
I wrote it in there because we mentioned children's toys, right? This is something that we see. So that to allow it or to provide an exception for it if it's, got in good condition, has a base, an anchor weight to it. To allow those, in people's yards. And also the ground mounted, there's a couple, people have actual in-ground poles.
Okay.
Okay. 98. Oh, okay, this is what we were talking about. This is the 34 spots we're getting credit for at the marina. And this goes back to the idea for providing two or three trailered boat spots for people in line for the waiting list that do not have a current slip, but are invested in that.
Okay.
Then we'll go to 145.
Are we saying it's approved?
Yeah.
Nothing's approved till we vote.
What was the next page?
I mean,
Did you have any
we were
discussion or
I'm
comment?
agreeing on 98 that we're adding spots for
Yeah.
trailers. Okay.
But do we have,
I'm gonna have to draft some more language. It was just wanted to find out if we were open to the idea and it was something we could do with the nourishment.
and we're gonna
agreement.
charge for it, we're gonna charge a fee for them
Yep,
parking.
yes. Just
Whatever
like the
else
boat slips, just to expand.
to
revenue.
fence it in and provide security and all that stuff, or they parking at their own risk?
We'd have to have some kind of sign off,
It should be at risk.
at your own risk.
The boats are at your own risk, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, but we've now fenced it off and you used to be able to walk across the marina docks and stuff, and you can't now.
I'm 66, I can get over that fence.
I'm just saying. So that's a lock gate, I don't go in, right? So.
Well, you're an honest person.
The planning and zoning did mention, trying to screen it some way to.
Yeah, because it's, I mean, it's.
That's what
gonna
it
be kind of
says.
Sore, so we've got, it's gonna be, there's gonna be an expense. I mean, just things to think about. I'm just throwing it out there. And, and then my feeling, don't give up our parking if I can't get parking at Morgan, so. We need Morgan Street parking.
Okay. Okay, 98 and then 145.
105, you say?
145.
45, okay.
Okay. So we were talking about last time, the difference between motor home, modular home, and manufactured home.
Yeah.
And then motor home is the term that we are changing, in our flood code. Where previously we had recreational vehicle, but it's better to define them as a motor home. But then when you talk about the difference between a manufactured home and a modular home, the manufactured, or let's see, the modular home.
The following motor.
So if it has, so what makes it a manufactured home is if it has a permanent steel frame underneath, even if the wheels are removed. So it comes in on a chassis. And that's what makes it a manufactured home, by definition.
Okay,
And then the modular home is, one that gets brought in and pieced together. Upfront costs,
So there's a manufacturer. The big difference from a manufactured home,
is that has the chassis
well, it's HUD compliance.
defined by.
Where modular isn't. Where most manufactured homes, just for the electrical panel, will be 15 amp max. So you have 20 different switches instead of 10, when you're having 20 amps, service. But it's really compliance with federal HUD regulations. It has to have the current HVAC systems in it like that. And for energy consumption and everything like that, where a modular does.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we do allow modular homes, and from what I understand is that it's gotten better where they're built on a controlled environment, so it has actually increased the quality of the build.
Manufacturer and modular probably withstand with a stick-built house today.
But they both imply permanence. When you say manufacturer modular home, I think of permanent installation. When you say recreational vehicle, you say motor home, I'm thinking mobile and ad hoc.
Right.
Mobility.
yeah.
I
so I'm
think
good
as
with
part
motor.
of plan review, we need to talk about modular homes and mobile homes and whether they're allowed.
Mobile homes are not, modular homes are currently.
And manufactured, right?
I need to search, I don't think so. I don't think you can have a manufacturer, somewhere in the code it's listed.
Email allows them, I know that.
I just did a lookup on the two modular, these are transported in modules, as Frank said, on flatbed trucks and craned onto a permanent foundation. Once installed, they are legally indistinguishable from a site-built home. Manufactured, these are built on a permanent steel chassis with wheels and axles. They can be placed on a foundation. They are designed to be removable, even if they rarely are.
Same way with a concrete slab home. You can remove it today. As we can see around the neighborhood.
Right.
Yeah.
The ones that look like modular homes now.
It seems like there are terms that I know we just sold my mother-in-law's, what everybody called was a manufactured home in Brooksville. But when you looked on the title, every home in there is titled mobile home.
Mhm.
Now, is it like the mayor just said, I guess it could be movable,
You know why?
but not easily.
If it's a mobile home, you don't have to pay property tax. You pay registration fee.
That's correct.
Just like a
Annually.
car.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just like a car,
You have
exactly.
a sticker right on the house.
Right.
Yeah, and it's a cheap way of living.
But everybody in there calls them, it's a manufactured home.
Just don't tell the tax man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But that's about the only
Confusing.
difference.
So like a common trailer park in Pinellas County is a manufactured home
Correct,
brought in, built on a,
correct.
They're
Yeah.
mobile homes tax wise, yeah,
but then they're definitely not, definitely not allowed.
just how to beat the system.
Okay,
So end of the day, we're good with motorhome.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
163. More of the definitions. And, yeah, okay, that was just more to cover the definitions, and then 180. Okay, this goes to the mulch. So, I was proposing defining the mulch into three separate categories. And for the first 4 feet of the edge of roadway into the right of way, I was proposing only non-organic material. Things like rock, stone, even shell. Something that can be built up against, the edge of the curb that won't wash away easily when we get some tidal flooding.
Excluding grass though.
Excluding grass, yeah. Yeah, grass is always okay. And then 4 feet, 4 feet from the edge of the road, then allowing mulch materials that are less prone to floating, which is defined by shredded hardwood, pine straw, cypress mulch, or recycled rubber. And then that would take you from that 4 feet buffer from edge of roadway to your property line, and then inside the lot, you can use whatever mulch materials you choose.
It's fine, except the recycled rubber, but other than that, everything else looks good.
We can remove that. It's kind of not great stuff. We had that at the rec center, look
It's
nasty.
so bad when it's cold, it's bad.
Vice Mayor,
Yes, sir.
are you gonna take a public comment?
Sure. Are there any citizens that would like to speak?
Tom Ferraro, 123 Abuja Drive, 30 years this month in Bella Beach.
Hi.
Just say it floats or it doesn't float. Just cut it down to that, right? So people will argue, well, mine intermittent bits and then it doesn't float. I would just tell you, 4 feet, if it floats, it can't be there. If it doesn't float, and we know rocks and stones don't float, but wood can. So I just think simplify the language. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Organic, non-float?
That's kind of where I was leaning, like not having to go to this, so much detail. I mean, maybe do you think it's gonna be difficult to control, or I mean, to manage, or to?
I mean,
enforce, I guess?
I think it's gonna take a little extra enforcement, but for a good cause. To hopefully keep things out of the drain.
That's the ultimate goal, right?
It'd be better to have more detail than less detail when you talk about a code provision that you're going to adopt or change. Don't leave it to the subjective thought of one person over another as to what things are.
To what
If it's
things
specifically laid out as to what is and what isn't, you're gonna be in the best case scenario if you have to bring a code enforcement action or a complaint for injunctive relief in circuit court, so.
Yeah, because I see, I mean, from what was originally proposed to what you added,
So-
I think it's good.
So if we define the language to incorporate that idea, and
Do
then
you think, I'm just thinking like, I mean, times change and new mulch concepts come up,
Then we change the
and
code.
we always change code. Okay, I just.
I mean, because
I would go with a constant editing of those.
It's just a matter of doing business here for a city.
Okay.
We're constantly moving, and so I wouldn't see it as a big impediment.
Okay,
When you want to change your code, let's change your code.
okay.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
So do we call this mulch materials most prone to floating, or are we simply say mulch materials prohibited and allowed?
right,
Because the whole definition of floating or non-floating is subjective. So if you just simply call it out, these are allowed and these are not, and I would go with Jody's comment of removing recycled rubber up to the
okay.
non-compatible.
Okay, we'll draft something up. Okay, so that was 180, we're going to 194.
So we're gonna talk about what's allowed, not what's disallowed, right? Just gonna talk about what's allowed.
Right, yeah, I'll talk to the planner to see what he recommends as far as how to section it off,
Okay.
definitions.
So just a quick question, Kyle, on this topic, the 4 feet buffer you're talking about?
Yes.
Are we encouraging this as only for those that have non-grass properties, or does a grass property owner
Grass.
have the ability to do that same 4-foot buffer from a look perspective?
Everyone has the same rules. And so like the xeriscape, it covers that as well for the people that already have the rock all the way.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to make it across the board uniform. Okay, 194. Okay. So this gets us to, we were talking about the height limit in the residential medium zoning district. And then what was recommended, let me get down to the densities. Actually, get back. There. So, but the planning zoning board, after looking at the report, which actually let's go to that quick. It's at the end, let me find the page. It's at the end of all the code before we get to signs. It's gonna be. 45, yes. So this is a memorandum from
That's what
Planner Cerna, where he looked at all of our residential medium parcels. And you compare the numbers to our current density, floor area ratio, and impervious surface ratio. And you can see where he listed out where they all ended up. And if you compare them back, you'll see a lot of the densities and the floor area ratio are, the current buildings are more than we allow. So the planner sort of made the recommendation here at the end of so that we could increase it too, based on what he sees at other cities and what he's assessing our current structures. So that was just a recommendation from the planner. The planning and zoning board they approved or recommended it.
What is the recommendation actually?
So the recommendation from the planning and zoning board, which came from this memorandum, back to that, we're on 94. Okay, so it was to increase the density from 15 to 30 units per acre. Increase the floor area ratio from 0.5 to 1.2. And increase the ISR, which is the impervious surface ratio, from 0.75 to 0.85.
So we'd be doubling the allowable density.
Yes.
Wow.
Why?
What is that? What purpose are we trying to serve here?
Well, the whole idea behind it, I think. Let's see, I'll get back to this. So just again, look at the current densities. A lot of them are already exceeding it. Some of them are close or above the 30. But the idea, with some of these properties were damaged during the storm, and they looked at repairing versus selling to a developer. They were left with very limited options as far as like interest in developer because of the restrictions of the zoning codes. Most developers want to build a luxury town home building. It's kind of what's getting built a lot now, and they just didn't have the room between the height and the density and the impervious surface floor area ratio. None of it's there.
But wouldn't that call out a premium for supply and demand?
Premium?
Wouldn't that call out a premium? If you build less units per acre, then you're actually building a lower supply and a higher demand of beachfront communities. Therefore, are you trying to dilute the value of the property or are you trying to increase the value of the property? I guess is my.
I think, Jody was bringing up last time that, that you're just never gonna have anybody, no builder's gonna wanna get involved. So we'll be staring at that eyesore for a long time.
Well, then I look at the other proposal, which was go to 3 full living stories, and then suddenly you've got a 4-story building when we've got a 3-story restriction on the properties in the city currently. So I don't understand. It seems like we're just going up and
I think
denser.
is it Bel Air Beach, the ones that park underneath, is it Bel Air Beach Resort? That has parking underneath and 3 stories. We already have some of those.
That was the limitation. It wasn't gonna be 4
But that-
stories of inhabitants, right? It was gonna
Right.
be, it was gonna be
Three
parking
above
and then 3 stories of inhabitants.
Right, so you got 4 stories.
Right.
You've got a story, plus 3 livable levels above
We
the
already
garage.
have that, some of our properties.
What I was reading on that was, they're talking about, that was for new houses, wasn't it? They were gonna go to that height for houses on the beach.
This is the residential medium we're talking. about.
Yes.
So this is
Some
the,
multi-
Okay.
the multi,
Okay.
Right, yeah,
Thanks, Greg. I'm sorry, I read the wrong classification.
the hotels that aren't hotels.
Yeah. Got it.
This is RM District 1, huh?
Yeah, the
That
residential.
makes a difference. That makes a big difference to me. I'm getting a little scared though.
Yeah.
West side.
And the thought, I mean, I don't know, I talked to Kyle about this. After the hurricane, we have these couple of hotels that are not opening. The one that just opened, I'm really not sure what kind of work they did on it, because I didn't see very many workers there, so I can't imagine.
They were
They're probably,
pretty full up.
yeah, they're trying to get some money in, right?
Yeah. Down that Nautical Watch, I mean, that was like a. Pick some of the stuff up at the dog camp that they hold, but I don't know what they're doing with that. All the way down.
Nautical Watch?
Yeah.
Nothing right now.
There's no windows in it.
I gotta check where the permits
Lula?
at, cause they did pull a permit. But they haven't done anything.
And that's all timeshare. They're still charging every.
Condo share, time sharing.
Kind of limit, when you think about it, you're limited to a couple of properties
so we're
that
s-
might take advantage.
But we're saying specifically for this district
That-
of property along
Right.
Gulf Boulevard, that is
Yes.
multi-tenancy. We're
Right.
looking for the density aspect. Okay, I feel
Okay.
better. Thank you so much.
So
But how high can
that
it
is,
go?
it might be turnover if we make it more attractive, but you could end up with higher structures, which would change.
And a little more tax base.
So this 94,161 recommendation to go to 3 stories plus a livable is specifically for the multi-level, multi-tenant units
Yeah.
along the Gulf.
And how high can these go up?
Currently 35 feet above the BFE +1. Same as the residential, single-family homes. The only
That's
difference
it.
is they can put their equipment condensers on top of the roof.
The 36 feet about, so.
So if you went to,
Well, whatever the BFE
Yeah,
is.
well,
about
yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah,
9.
Yeah.
so what would it be with the BFE if you went to this 3 stories plus 1? Height?
What is I mean, from the road, what is the road elevation? out
Depends
there?
on if they.
You're saying BFE at 50
Each
plus 1, what would it be with this revision of 3 stories plus 1?
one has a different elevation.
So it's based on elevation, so the BFE on all those properties, the current FEMA maps is 9, it's an AE 9 zone. So +1, so 45 feet is the max. They could build elevation. Now the ground level is probably about 5 feet, 4.55 out there.
Yeah.
So about the size of that blue house that you see when you look out there.
Right. So what's the planner think about these changes?
I mean, he made a recommendation based on what he saw we had and what he saw the other communities in the surrounding area of similar
Okay.
size were doing.
Kyle, weren't his comments beside the comments for the changes?
Which comments?
Chair
Sorry.
Prescott's,
Oh,
he had
yeah,
comments.
so I circled back to talk to Chair Prescott about the reasons, he wanted to increase it, and it came down to make it more marketable to a developer so that we can turn over some of these properties that don't look as great, on Gulf Boulevard.
And it doesn't mean anyone's gonna bite on it. I mean, it's a great opportunity for a developer, but it doesn't mean that we're gonna get a development and.
Yeah,
clean up.
what I see is opportunity for changing our entire beachfront over time. We've kept it a certain way for a very long time, and now we're being asked to double the density, and we're being asked to raise the level to 50 feet. So this is something that I'm not very comfortable with, just because this is how the face of Bel Air Beach eventually gets changed. We approve this change, and then the next council comes in and they do a little more and a little more, and then eventually we look like Sand Key. So as much as I am upset about the few buildings that are not able to rebuild, I still think that there's opportunity to rebuild them under the current code. Even if we do some slight changes, I would be more comfortable with that rather than increasing the density, increasing the height, increasing the amount of livable space. It's just it seems like a whole lot all at one time. And I also recall that there was even some changes concerning parking at these various properties. So it looks to me like a developer's dream come true, and I'm just not ready for that. But that's just me, and I'm only one person on the council.
I agree with you, Mr. Mayor. Second.
Is there an opportunity for those people to ask for a variance? If they're having trouble, why wouldn't they just ask for a variance?
So the answer to the question is they could ask for a variance, if your variance code provision provided for it. I don't have it memorized, so some codes allow you to change, to have a variance for side yard setback, front yard setback. Some have variances give the authority to change the height, the lot size, those different types of things. I would have to look at the code, but that's probably not something that you want to give the special magistrate the authority to do, or your Board of Adjustment, whoever is the one that's doing it. You'll probably want to control that and make sure that they don't have the authority to do that.
Well, then, is there an opportunity to say that if it's outside of the allowable current process for a variance, if it's outside of that, if it's in this district, then they can apply for one for these reasons directly to the council?
So override the variance procedure?
Or just those matters and just those properties?
So you can always do that. Someone can always ask for a text amendment to your code to allow them to do what they want to do, but you would not want to be creating two variance processes through your code. It's best to just regulate it, the code outright, and determine whether or not the Board of Adjustment or your special magistrate has the authority to do that. That's why you want to control it. That's how you control it. And don't make
Our
it.
code has some very strict guidelines concerning our building code. There are some things such as setbacks that can be a variance can be applied for. Then there's other things such as height restrictions that absolutely you are not allowed to do. So it all comes down to what's in the code and what are we more lenient on for a variance.
Yeah, that's the point I was trying to make is that your code controls what the Board of Adjustment has the authority to vary.
Mhm.
So.
When I'm reading through this chart, our density ranges far exceed what he's proposing.
Right.
So I'm not sure why it's a problem.
What page are you on?
I'm on page 246. That's the chart that
All right.
this engineer had,
Yep.
or the planner put together. Every property on Gulf Boulevard with higher densities, the densities range from 5.97 to 39.47 units per acre.
So,
Average being 21 units per acre.
so if this was out of compliance to begin with, how did they ever get approved to begin with?
That's part of the code changing over time, right? So,
Right,
yeah,
that's there.
because they were built, I mean, some of those
Are you saying we've actually pulled back on density over time?
evidently we did, but I mean, I think of some of those units are probably built in the late 60s.
Yeah, because we must have added these restrictions after all those buildings.
Because the big one here is Bel Air Sands and Chateau.
Yeah. And they're in grade, so you got to think of those both lost their first floor.
I'm thinking somewhere in the past, previous community leaders decided that maybe that wasn't such a good idea. And I can't speak for what their mindset was, but I'm thinking there is a reason why they created that code.
So what was your initial statement, Jody? Based on the
That
chart.
we are far exceeding his recommendations.
Right
So,
now?
yeah,
Yeah.
so I don't know why we're struggling with it.
Yeah.
Because if they were to redevelop the property, they would have to develop it towards the current code, so they would lose that density. That's,
Oh, no, I know, that's what I'm saying. So I don't know why we wouldn't support what they already have existing.
What do you mean by lose the density?
Because right now, yeah,
So you got 15 and you go to 30, you're saying they'd have to build as a 30 or they couldn't build?
they don't
They couldn't build
conform
a
to
15,
today's code. If they knock down,
right?
today's code doesn't allow them to build as many units.
Oh, because they were originally created under a different code or under a
Right.
different density. Right. Thank you. Okay.
They're
They'd have to
grandfathered in
rebuild
right
in
now.
30.
so for Bel Air Sands, for example, it says,
Thank you for giving us example.
30 if you had.
it's got 24 units right now. The maximum density under your code currently is 15 units.
Weren't some of these originally motels? So the density they were built under density of a different conversation than a condominium?
I think everything was a condo conversion.
Right.
It didn't start as a.
They were all the 1950s motels, pull-up motel kind of thing. You go get a room and.
I don't know which one's Bel Air Sands, so I'm not.
Could we put a provision in something that offers a grandfather clause of redevelopment grandfathers into current density
You
versus
can-
having
you
to
can always
specify a
draft-
change of density?
You can always draft a code to do that, but the idea is to get all non-conforming properties conforming at some point. So,
Is the Bel Air Beach Resort Condo Motel, is that the pink one?
Yes.
Okay, so that's a good example. That's currently 38 units. Under the new, that's probably one that would be most likely to be redeveloped.
Mhm.
Under the new proposed, it would be 31 units. Am I reading this right? Is that correct? They'd lose units.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't lose half.
they would lose half right now without the change.
Right, without the change, but with the change, they only lose a couple.
Near break even.
Right.
I see.
So it makes it a more reality, you know, if someone's gonna redevelop it.
Palatable, yeah.
If a zoning is done for 30 units as an example, could a developer actually build it for 15 units per?
Oh, they
Even
could.
though the density allows for more, they don't have to consume the density that's coded, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. They would have the ability to do it, but they don't necessarily have to do it. I mean, if someone could buy the property and build
One.
a single family
House.
home.
If you make more money, more units.
But yeah, of course, no one's gonna leave
No
those
one's gonna do
units. Yeah.
Got it.
Well, maybe. You never know. So it's kind of good to compare. The Nautical Watch is the other one that would, the timeshare unit. That one could increase by 10 units. So that's, I mean, it's a good exercise to kind of look at these addresses or look at the properties you're aware of and see how it affects
But I
those.
think the mayor calls out a good element here, and that is this is a lot of change at one fell swoop, and the idea should be look at the granularity and look at the progression over time of what that impacts. So do you have to do density and height and all of these changes at once, or do you make it a gradual change, or do you
Leave it
allow
alone.
for that exception or that grandfather clause or whatever it might be? But
We'll say that the height of 50 feet was added after this. It was recommended by the planning and zoning after this memo. So Planner Cerna does not recommend increasing the height. He only-
so we're changing from 35 to 50.
Yes, that's what was recommended by.
That's a
Planning and
full
zoning.
floor and a half.
Yeah, I thought we shot that one down right away. I thought none of us were in favor of that, but maybe I'm wrong.
Water, I'll be right back.
Okay.
You want this one? Sure.
Appreciate it. So you could technically have a density of 30, but have a height restriction, which basically means the density could never be achieved because you couldn't get the density in the 2 floors. It's the size of the lot that they're working with.
Which I don't think going over, I think the 35 feet is reasonable, which is consistent throughout the city, right? So,
Yeah, and then you asked about the newer Gulf Boulevard houses.
yeah,
I did find 2 of them. I think the one by Morgan Park is the tallest of the 3 that were built recently.
The new one, the white square one.
White Square, yeah.
Yeah.
That, the total elevation is 45.83. Is that what
So-
that's built to? That's
no,
about
we can't go.
40 feet and change above ground.
That's a tall house.
Okay, yeah.
So some people can go higher.
No, the reason that was is because the maps changed. The BFU was higher. And now they came down, so you can't build as high.
Did the 2.0 map?
They
or-
pay off.
It was the 2021 map. August 24th, 2021, when it changed.
That was under that 2.0 or?
That was before the new rating system was released. And the county went to their own VA.
But back to, I think that even with that information you just provided us, that I don't, we already have the height at 35 feet. I don't think that it makes sense to do something different for this RM zoning.
Mhm.
So that's a,
So keep that where it is,
yeah,
35.
yeah, I would propose that, and I don't see a problem with some of these densities. So that's all that would be the only change. It's not a whole lot of change,
So, yeah, I
it's
think
just the
that-
densities.
ISR is not important and the what's the other, the floor area ratio?
I mean, your densities,
So the densities currently are 15, right? Units per acre.
Yeah, 15 to 30 is what we're going, proposing. Right.
I'm perfectly okay with that. The reason why is because you already have some that are at 30 now roughly, and they're not above the height. It's this would be one way to keep our skyline under control, yet give builders the incentive to double the capacity of existing properties. If they don't have the acreage to support what their dream complex, I don't agree with going up. If the council is okay with that, well, then I'm okay with that. And I think I was referring to the parking density also. There was a reason for that, probably to accommodate a greater density on just for the building itself. So I would agree with that also.
Yeah, I'm aligned.
We're all good with that?
Yep.
Yeah. Where's the parking?
Uh,
Fair.
196.
Oh, okay. 196 of that document?
That was document, yeah.
26 of 74 in the document.
Oh, God.
196.
You guys are confusing.
196 of
It's
the
a-
packet.
Of the-
Of the PDF, yeah, 196 of the PDF,
Sorry. Too late.
yeah.
I'm sure there's a better way to do this. than what I-
So we're good? Next one.
So we are good with the density change, but not the height change. Is that what I
Right,
heard?
I'd
Change the
say.
density, we're not changing the height. Are we doing anything with floor area ratio?
What does, could you define floor area ratio for me?
So I gotta go back to our definitions. This is 94-2.
What does that provide?
Floor area ratio means measurement of the intensity of the building development on a site. Floor area ratio is the relationship between the gross floor area on the site and the gross land area. The FAR is calculated by adding together the gross floor area of all buildings on the site and then dividing it by the gross land area.
Okay.
So it's square footage developed versus square footage of lot.
Yeah.
Say that again?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Livable.
Square foot.
In other words, how much ground?
Development of-
Right, the whole thing.
Right.
And then the IFR and the permitting
So,
too.
Okay.
Kind of addresses that a little bit too.
Can I read a definition?
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, what I'm reading here is it's basically more like a lesson how far shapes a building. Let's see. The fascinating thing about FAR is that it dictates mass, not shape. A specific FAR, let's say 1.0, can result in very different looking buildings depending upon how much of the lot you cover. The one-story option, you build on 100% of the lot. The building is 1 story tall. The 2-story option, you build on 50% of the lot, leaving half for a yard or parking. The building is 2 stories tall. The 4-story option, you build on 25% of the lot. The building is 4 stories tall. In all 3 scenarios, the FAR is exactly 1.0, but the impact on the neighborhood is completely different.
Interesting.
Right.
But as long as we have the height requirement in there, still.
Just a-
Well, we have setbacks, and so does this change our setbacks, Kyle?
No, it does not change. The setbacks are defined differently in the residential medium section. Let's see,
So 94, 165 is the
160.
setbacks.
So again, it sounds like we're comfortable with maintaining and keeping the height requirement and increasing the density from 15 to 30.
And I do think you need to do the FAR increase too. Because 50%, like per that example. You know what, a 3-story building would have,
33%.
I'm
but if you
okay
did
with
half
what was presented.
It'd even
in
have to
the
be-
Planner.
less.
Say that again.
What the planner, in conclusion, maximum density up to 30 units per acre. Maximum floor area ratio 0.60. Maximum impervious surface area ratio 0.85.
Right.
I think this is a man who knows planning, and I think we should follow his suggestions.
Yeah, I kind of agree. Yeah, so I mean, I agree with the FAR and the ISR and the density, but not the height. Okay, no height change, which was not
don't
even
know.
recommended by him.
So the buildings are gonna get fatter, but the buildings are not gonna get higher.
Right.
Right.
Fine.
except maybe one more story, you know, based on what they're looking,
Right.
they look, those
Right.
couple there.
Yep, yep.
It'll be like in Rock's Beach, right? That's how there's,
Yeah.
I think there's one that's taller, but most of them are,
Part of the reason I like Any Rocks for that reason.
Right,
I
exactly.
like these.
So
two
he didn't
because
address the
they're
height
local.
issue
no.
in his, but we've got that already taken care of.
Mhm.
Okay,
Okay.
So you'll go
Yeah,
with all the
better buildings.
recommendations?
here we go.
All right.
His
Is
density,
It's, okay.
yeah.
Okay.
there's- Yeah,
Is there a consensus?
I don't know if Dave is on it. I think he's.
Okay. All right, let me get back to my notes.
So
All right, so we're on 198 now. We're all caught up.
We're on page 198.
Yep,
Okay,
this is where we left off, residential low, District 2. So this is all the single family homes.
What page are we on?
198.
198, moving on to 199.
Going back.
Just a statute reference change on page not 199.
Yeah,
That's
for solar warming.
okay.
Okay, and then we get to 94, 210 detached buildings.
No, don't have this, but I didn't read that number. Yeah.
So this a detached building, we also talked about adding the gazebo as acceptable with the same standards.
Sorry, what number now?
We are on 94, 210. It's page
Page 200.
200.
Thank you.
Numbers.
And then another thing that's come up is we have someone who is demolished a single family home from substantial damage, and they're interested in putting a shed only on the lot and screening it with some sort of fence. When I looked at the code after hearing the idea, I couldn't decipher whether you could or couldn't. So then I had the planner starting to look at it, and he believes that it doesn't call it out. So that from my standpoint, I could make it as an interpretation that it is not allowed, but I feel like it'd be better if we defined it in the code, whether we want to allow it or not.
I don't think we want a lot of lots with just empty sheds
Right.
sitting on them. Because if that's what you write into the code, then that's what people can do, right?
Yeah, so we define that you would have to have a primary structure.
It's only a secondary.
That's
Yeah.
that's what I
Secondary storage
assumed.
unit based on the
Okay.
primary use, yeah.
I have a comment on this section right here. This is a charter boat. It's a charter boat's dream come true because they can buy a junky house on a waterfront, knock it down, put a shed up and build a big old 2 or 3 boat dock and run a business out of it. So I am absolutely against that.
It was the jet
Well, this will
ski
take care of
running at
that.
the end of 22nd.
Okay,
Okay, good.
Agreed. Yeah, okay.
all right, moving on. Okay, so now we're on to docks. Wait, hold on. Okay, no, wait, 94 213 rentals. So this is where we called out page
201.
201. This is where we called out that you cannot lease or list on any marketplace the rent for any of your amenities on your property.
Mhm.
And then we also defined amenity. And this does not change because it only references the amenities being rented. So it doesn't change the rental of the actual structure.
Yeah.
The single family.
I think that I've seen that where more people are doing that, like they're renting out their pool. Or a big pool, somebody doesn't have a pool, so they have 30 people
Big
come
party.
and rent the pool.
Yeah, and we wrote into this one which is different than our short-term rental, that even if we see it advertised for rental, then it's a violation. Like an amenity, so
Okay.
that helps, because there are some cities that actually, they get people for when they advertise for less than the allotted time. But we don't have it written that way, so we'll spot it and keep an eye on it, and then we'll wait till somebody's there, we believe is a short-term rental, and then interview them.
Yeah, I think you did that on, what's on my street, yeah.
Good.
You
Okay.
interviewed the neighbors to see it.
Yeah.
We thought.
Or the actual renter.
Yeah.
Because they usually will just tell the truth, they're just on vacation, so.
Right.
For the docks, this is where we talked about reducing the side setbacks, to the neighboring property from 12 to 6 feet on the lots that are shaped in the pie shape, where they have a reduced
First, there's-
back property line.
You got B, did you miss that one? Is that what you're talking about?
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay,
Where they converge, they may get reduced. So that means if it's a pie shaped lot where the rear lot line is smaller.
The rear is smaller.
It's a small,
Okay,
so they have limited space.
right.
A lot of times it's very difficult to fit dock in there with the 2 setbacks on each side. So most of the time it requires a hearing for a variance.
Mayor, Dave?
Yes.
What's your feeling on that? I know you've been in this situation. Is that acceptable the way it's written?
I have been in this situation and I think it's a great idea because too many homeowners buy these beautiful homes on pie-shaped lots, thinking they're going to build a nice dock and put a boat out back, and then they realize, nope, can't do that. You got to have a variance. And I think for the most part, people that are on pie-shaped lots are willing to work with each other to get it done. I don't think there's a need for a variance.
Okay,
Right. Good.
thank you.
Any more discussion on that, or?
It's good.
Okay. Then planner center just added that docks should be further subject to the standards and requirements of Division 3, Article 5, so just added that in for this good measure.
What's C for? Any vessel moored at a residential dock shall less than 12 feet from the projection.
So it's the ones for tie poles, and then the other one is for the vessel moored itself. So it's the same, it's a setback requirement. And then what planning and zoning recommended was that, so they did say they thought that the side setback should stay at 12 feet for all lots. And then they recommended implementing a 24-hour rule for tied off vessels that encroach the 12-foot setback. Because that specifically deals with the vessel itself encroaching.
Could we do something like calendar day? Because it seems like 24 hours, kind of an arbitrary, when does that start? When does that stop? Kind of. You moored at 10 PM last night, so therefore you've got to be gone by 10 AM, 10 PM.
It's not going to be a regulated, I mean, it would be in code, but this
Okay.
is pretty much where the neighbor is a squeaky wheel and says, I don't want that. You know, your time is up, and reports them.
Okay.
No, it's better to have it in there. It's better to have some time limit in there. I just wanted to make sure we had something that was
I'm sure I'm
enforcing.
completely understanding what they're saying, but
So it's saying if somebody docks the boat and moors it where the vessels itself is encroaching the setback, that they can only do so for a maximum of 24 hours. Then they gotta move it.
Like the boat is so wide, it's beyond the width of your dock, of your poles. It's so wide,
So you're encroaching on the neighbor's
yeah,
setback?
you're like almost on the
Yeah.
next neighbor's property line. The
So
boat's
is-
so big.
is this again in one of those coves, like,
Could be
Anywhere you're
Yeah,
close
very
to
much even-
lot line.
especially for a boat that parks sideways, like my boat used to be. My boat parked sideways on the house. Not direct in and out, but sideways against the lot. Yeah.
Is it a problem? I'm just wondering why it came up.
That just came up in our planning and zoning meeting. I believe the chair brought it up, but
That's why.
it was not on my mind before.
That's why. I'm
Like I've never
Is there a
had someone,
conflict with the chair being involved with,
Hit that corner,
Potential.
that side corner.
I mean, I don't want to get into too many details, but I mean, potential dock issue and him making recommendations?
You were the ultimate decision maker. Anybody can make a recommendation. You control it by the decisions that you make.
Yeah.
So there'd be no conflict.
But I think this is reasonable. I mean, this setting, sorry, go ahead.
it read exactly like this, except without the underline. And C, and then that, I never added anything to the actual code after they recommended the 24-hour rule. I just put it as a side note.
Like in my property,
I'm not in favor of changing it until I know more details.
Okay, yeah, I've never handled the code enforcement case where somebody's boat was encroaching for a time
That's
period or
my
anything
point.
like that.
It's never been an issue.
I've
Unless
never
someone
had
wants-
any issues.
yeah,
Unless someone wants to make it an issue.
it's a pretty darn, well, I guess it's a big number, right?
Makes sense.
What page was that on?
That's 202, thank you. It was C under 94-214.
See, what you're doing is in the event that there's some work going on and a neighbor, they've docked their boat and they're having some, a 2 or 3 day, whatever, construction going on their dock or for whatever circumstances, let's just say they have guests in that arrive on a boat from out of town. This is not really been a problem. I can think of a lot of reasons why someone would want to be there for more than 24 hours, but I also have never seen anyone on the water say, move your boat, I don't want you here. So I think we're trying to regulate something where the neighbor would be perfectly acceptable with over 24 hours, but then code enforcement might actually come in and say, you got to move it.
Right. All right, so moving to subsection H. Wait, no, that was just a recommendation by planner Cerna. They accepted. Going to elevation and grading, which is 94-215. So this is still under RL District 2. So these are single family homes. The lowest floor elevation shall be at least 18 inches above the crown of the road. In no case shall the lowest floor elevation be specified below the design flood elevation plus freeboard as specified in 94-161 of this code. The concrete slab or graded pad for the garage covering parking lot, parking pool equipment or limited storage that is under an elevated structure shall not exceed 18 inches above the crown of the road, or for parcels located along Gulf Boulevard not to exceed 24 inches above the crown of the road. The reason that is higher for Gulf Boulevard is that Gulf Boulevard itself sits a lot higher than a lot of our streets. So they need a little bit more elevation to get the drainage to drain all towards Gulf Boulevard. Where, in some lots, if you were on a water, you could drain both ways. A lot of the undeveloped lots at Gulf Boulevard sit very low grade as is. So they gotta come up and then they gotta, if they build pools and grade their property, it's all gotta come towards Gulf Boulevard. So it's gotta be moved up quite a bit. That's why we went with 24 instead of 18.
Now, this is still listing pools in here. Can't be higher than 18 inches above the Crown of the
That
road.
pools got moved to later in this chapter and they did get increased to 24.
Okay, so should we cross it off here? Cause it's a conflict of what we're saying later in the code.
So a pool can be as high as, no higher than 24 above the crown of the road. We don't have to put it at 24 above.
It should be,
You don't need to
should be
change.
under.
So what is this doing?
I know, it's all confused.
Yeah.
So this is, this was basically to allow, you to do higher, on Gulf Boulevard lots. To raise the garage structure, to as high as not to exceed 24 inches above the crown of the road, but to give that garage start height a good elevation so that the water can properly drain towards Gulf Boulevard.
Instead of back towards the house.
Apply to.
This will apply to any single family home on the east side of Gulf Boulevard.
Well, the reason why I'm asking is that my building permit wasn't approved until we agreed to raise the garage floor to 24 inches, not 18.
Hmm.
That's a big expense.
They're asking your garage floor has to be raised.
Before my garage that it's existed
And then-
since the house
and
was
then-
there.
Let me check what the code previously said to understand where you were at.
Because this is a change.
Yeah.
Because my permit was refused. I had to pay architectural fees, everything to go through that.
So this might actually allowed it to be lower. I gotta go back and look.
Thank you.
Where we're
We are
at.
literally right at that point too. So thanks.
Well, and it still says that pool equipment and or limited storage area. It says it shall not exceed 18 inches above the crown of the road. So this is not a conflict that it says that here. And then it's,
That's a good point too, yeah.
I mean, I think
I think we
this,
pointed that out last time and we said they needed to be aligned.
Yeah, I gotta work through what Platter Cerna's reasoning was, because he changed multiple sections all at the same time.
So what does the pool section say right now? When it-
The pools are meant to go from 18 to 24.
Okay.
And now that's to alleviate most of the variance
Right.
requests that we're getting.
Okay.
I remember this discussion of the equipment and everything. Yeah,
But it can conflict. Yeah, it has to be.
that's my concern, is I think it's a conflict.
Yeah, let me re-review this section.
We were doing to 30. I thought we're doing.
That's a good
to 30.
catch.
We haven't gone that as high as 30, but you might
We
bring it
kept
up.
on doing that back and forth, so I thought on pools.
Yeah, I think I have 24, but
Okay.
could go higher.
Well, I'm talking about it right now. I went to pools at 30, so.
Does anyone else have a preference for the pool deck elevation or the pool itself? It's defined by the level of the water. Going as high as 30 inches above the crown of the road.
I didn't have any trouble with that. I remember we debated this last time, though. I don't remember where we landed. I guess we didn't get that on the record then.
He's talked about 30, but he
Yeah.
said, no, we didn't.
Okay.
Just went to
Hey,
20.
do you mind if I?
Was it-
Sure.
that might have
So
been-
the floor, the lowest floor in the house has to be at least 18 inches above the crown of the road. However, the maximum height for a garage floor or a pool is now 30. Is that what I'm hearing?
No, just the pool, we said 30.
Just the pool. And the reason for that, one more time, remind me, I've heard you say it several times, but
So if you build up your foundation rather than parking under the house, then it allows you to have somewhere in between that at grade at 18 or, because what happens is, and I'll just use my house for an example. I have my pool and pool deck built, I have, the front yard is flat and then I step up 5 steps into my house. Coming out of the back, I only step down 3 steps to the pool. And it's it's much more, I'm not walking down an entire flight of stairs to get to the pool. And it works well. And we've had several variance requests for it. And I think Mike Kelly had suggested the 24, and I said, just give a little extra in case someone wants to not have that difference between their finished floor elevation and their pool deck.
You know, I do remember having this conversation and I agreed with you, provided that there's provisions in our code that says if you create a runoff situation, you are responsible for correcting it.
Right.
Yeah, because when
Yeah,
people,
exactly.
like on Donato, they built on the garage storage. So the pool ended up being a lot higher than the garage floor because they wanted the pool to be high off the back end.
Did they?
Walking
under the
out.
house?
Did they what?
Did they park under that? Did they have this whole?
No, they did that one with the garage floor, and then it stepped up like maybe 3 or 4 steps to get to that first living floor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same thing. It's, you know, the whole, yeah.
So yeah, their garage is at least 3 feet lower than the pool probably on that one.
But then there's house between it.
Mhm,
Between the.
right.
It's not like there's the garage and then there's the pool.
Right.
There's a house in between.
In that situation, the neighbor was not happy because they built a pool. The deck of the pool suddenly completely blocked their view of the water. And it just changed the entire, the way that it basically just changed their view because it was now really high. And then they put a fence up beyond that, which made it even higher, and suddenly they couldn't see the intercoastal at all. And so Kyle, that's the one you're talking about, right?
Yeah, I think that's the reason why the max elevation code was created, was more so neighboring properties didn't get built up way higher.
But we're talking about the pool. We're not talking about your grade. So you can only go so high with your 3 feet with your fence to the seawall. So I don't know how that got approved. That's a problem.
But if somebody built a pool in the back of their lot,
You can't take it to the edge of the lot. They still have a
I've
setback on the,
so you got the 12-foot setback
right.
from that top of the seawall, but I've seen decks that come to the seawall and they go up like 6 steps, like over about 8 feet into the lot. And then they get to a very high deck. Which I think is causing visual problems. And if they were to stick some sort of pool fence back, out of that 12-foot setback area, it would block more view across.
But I think we were saying they couldn't build the fence height from the pool deck height. They had to go deck down to the main grade, right?
They should, but if your pool deck's set in the property and you're out of that restriction of that 12 feet from the seawall, then it defines the height of the fence down directly below the fence where it's installed. So you don't really apply, if you're on an elevated pool deck, you don't apply the grade like of the side property line. You're applying it directly down from where the fence is. But specifically on the back 12-foot, where we say only 4 feet from the top of the seawall, it specifically calls out if there is like a retaining wall that has to be factored into it. So it's defined a little differently.
Because even if you're building your pool deck elevated, it has to be, you have to follow your setback, side, rear. So if there's a fence obscuring someone's view, that's because one, it was either when they were building those pools, like, my neighbor's is 8-10 feet high from the.
Yeah, I think we want
How's
to.
it prohibited view if it's in your yard? I mean,
Yeah, I
fence
know,
doesn't
that's-
go into the other person's yard.
It's the neighbor that's being blocked by this larger fence. They can't see.
But it's,
But no, they're looking sideways. They're looking
we
sideways.
can't look sideways.
Yeah, I mean,
Jesus God almighty, what else is gonna happen to life? I mean, these problems.
that's why they
that
put
we're
them in.
having-
Just saying, that's why they put the fence code in. Exactly.
It's 9 o'clock at night because someone can't see to the left or to the right. Stand up.
Yeah, okay.
Sakes.
It's just there's a lot of people near me.
Is there a logical place to look at here? Is there a few minutes to
And if
take
you
a
get
break
too high,
at 9?
Yeah.
What do you think? Straight, a good place for you to stop.
Right.
So we
Take a
just
motion.
finished,
I make a motion, we break at 8.
we,
This is just nonsense.
Eight.
so we just finished,
Yeah, we should've
94
broken
to
down.
15, right?
Ready to break by 9, that's for sure. I'm tired.
Yeah, I think that's the limit for today's meeting, is to go to 9 anyway.
I think it's a good time.
Isn't, it's kind of like we're in RL now and I don't really, I mean, we can stop any point and
Okay,
start, no big deal.
everybody okay with kind of wrapping it up here?
Yeah.
All right,
I'd like to stay a little bit longer. than-
Would you?
Yeah.
I'll stay away, Frank.
12 or 1 o'clock in the morning.
We can,
We've
we can set a record.
accomplished so much.
All right, Mayor, you good with that?
I'm great with that. That's my
Nice.
normal pull the plug time anyway, 9 o'clock.
Beautiful. All right, looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
Second, all right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
How bad are we doing?